So we're about to go live, but I know some of these people can't hear us. But this is what's on my mind right now. Apparently, Davros is no longer in the Dalek wheelchair and scarred. He's now a normal man, and the Scott Pilgrim Netflix show apparently is not focused on Scott Pilgrim. So what else is new? Hi, everybody.
Wow.
Welcome to Geeky Geezers.
Right?
We'll talk about that stuff next week. Oh, have you seen Davies in the news? RTD? You're not going to like
I saw one. You see, I don't even go to click on the articles anymore. I'm that
good. I've seen the videos. Yeah.
I am that removed from Doctor Who. But I saw one of the titles was, if you're
that was another.
If you hate transgender, blah 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 blah, then, and it's like I don't even need to read the article. I'm already not watching Doctor Who.
Already hostile toward the audience. I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
It's ridiculous. So yeah, we may not even bother mentioning it. But yeah, I brought up Scott Pilgrim at the beginning of the stream only because I was sort of talking hopeful about it because I kept thinking, what's the mess up? You got the cast back, and you're just going to be adapting the comic book, which is already written.
Right.
Well, that's apparently not what they did, and I don't know if it's good or bad, but I've got a bad feeling based on things I've heard about it. So I'm giving y'all a heads up right now. And, welcome to Geeky Geezers. I'm your host, Agent Boomer. This is my co-host, PaPa Pacelli.
Hello.
Anyway, did you get my note about what we might do for good old days tonight?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Okay. Maybe not necessarily good old days, but
I was just going to say, and speaking of, not always necessarily good just because it's... interpretation of the source material, but we'll get into that.
I watched a new Simpsons episode tonight, had a clip of Bart strangling Homer. Was it a Treehouse of Horror? Because I think that's the only instance that might be.
I think he said it was a Thanksgiving special kind of a thing. And and we'll definitely be talking about that because, this will be one of the rare, I don't know, would you call this a retraction or a...
We've done retractions before. They happen because other people apparently get things wrong. But to be fair, I'm not even picking on the people that wrote those articles last week. Because what were they to infer from what they saw?
Well, and we'll talk about that because it was inference. It wasn't based on someone from the show saying official statement, this is what we're planning to do. So we should give that some context, and then we'll talk about, the current thing.
What is this symbol? I always see deleted scenes posting it.
He's saluting.
Oh,
it's you see, it's an O with a, I don't know, like a 7 type thing next to it.
21 turd salute, right? I'm kidding.
No, that's a different salute.
Hello, Zootopia. Welcome. Welcome to the stream.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, I meant to tell you, I will be on with Birdman this Wednesday. We're doing our annual Thanksgiving stream. He's been busy most Wednesdays, but we're going to do one this Wednesday. It's a good time to do it because I have a little bit of breather before my final thing for school, and then I'm out for the semester. Then, until the nightmare semester next time. All right, Joshua V, welcome. Netters Network, welcome. Thank you. Get a hi, sweetie. Yeah. That's always nice. Glad to hear Netter is feeling better.
Yeah, she kind of started to relapse a little bit yesterday.
Okay.
But she's fair to middling right now.
I liked her Minnie Mouse voice though.
Right.
Don't forget to hit the like and share the stream and sub to one another. Yes, as we grow together, as it's said. Definitely check out Sub Deleted Scenes. He will be having a show right after this program. We had a program before. You can always see the link for the pre-show in the description of this show, of this thing. So. All right, but Lester, San Jose Skeptic Tank, I believe he was on.
Yes, he was.
Network.
It was a great. It was a great conversation, and then his next couple videos after that kind of continued the conversation, referring back. So, just for a sense of continuity, check that out.
Nothing better than a nutter butter. I mean, a better netter. Laugh out loud. Okay.
Well, there's that. Yeah, right. Exactly.
Do you like Nutter Butters?
I do, actually.
That's a decent cookie. I'll say that. That's
right?
An odd cookie. Because who thought of a peanut butter cookie? But they are pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I remember once, I think there was like a last day of writing class thing like many years ago when I was an undergrad back in the wonderful era of the, I think circa 2005? Yes. And I brought in, I got those big, those big boxes of the snack size Oreos and the Nutter Butters.
Sure.
Like the kind you buy. I bought those from the store. Like they actually sell the kind that you would see like on the aisle before you check out. You can actually buy a whole box of those. I brought 2 of those to the class, and one of the other writing students, you could tell these starving college students, he kind of looked at me and grabbed like 5 of them before leaving at the end of the class.
Yeah, he's like, this is all of my calories for the day.
I basically want to say, you know what, I'm offering. You can take as many as you want. It's fine. It's just
right.
But welcome to Geeky Geezers. I've been playing that new Mario game, Super Mario Wonder.
Pretty good.
It is quite indeed wonderful. I'll say this: it's been a while since I had missing time, where I thought I was playing for 20 minutes and 2 hours have passed by.
Wow.
So it's neat. It really brings me back to the old school, like Super Mario World, Super Mario Brothers 3. It's like that, but it does new things too. Like you have this whole thing where you hit the Wonder Flower, and then everything in the stage goes crazy, and it gets all mixed up. And you know what it is? It's just simple, clean fun, which I wish we had more of these days.
How do you feel about the, like the handling and the control? Does it seem familiar, or is there a learning curve?
It does. In fact, I remember I was on some other website and they were explaining how even though they liked the new Super Mario Brothers games, the timing felt a little off on those compared to what they played in the old school games. Whereas on this game, it's almost replicated 1 for 1, like how the characters handle.
That is good. Yeah.
So it's a real it's a real nice surprise. Any of you out there own a Switch, you might want to look into getting this, or maybe asking Santa for it this year. But welcome everybody. Welcome Rosefire. I know he'll be listening on the rewatch, so just hi to you now. Also for, like I said, Birdman, who usually listens on the rewatch, and I'll be on with him Wednesday. You can hear me rant about the Black Friday ads. Also, I'll be on Birdman stream on Tuesday. Not Birdman stream. Deleted Scene streams on Tuesday. I'm very excited about Twin Peaks lately. It's like becoming my weekly thing I look forward to. I forgot how good this show was, so I'll say that.
I agree.
And like you're all getting into it, and you're like, and no, credits again. It's like,
Right. Yeah, because it's really it's only an hour. So less than an hour because it's
an hour,
television. So I mean, it's like I'm used to doing watch parties with everybody. It's like 2 hours or so, right? But no, it's done. You're like, oh my gosh, and I gotta wait till next week. Well, I don't have to. I can just binge it. But
binging is nice.
Yeah.
All right. So today we're going to go back to the good old days.
Going back to 1984.
Yes, and now should I put in quotations in front of good old days, or maybe I'm being too harsh? Let's talk about Supergirl the movie.
Yeah, it was. Look, let's face it. It was. You gotta keep it in the context. It was a spin-off from the Christopher Reeve Superman. Yes. It was. Let's see, 1984. Was this before or after Superman 3?
I think it was after. I want to say it was after. It was probably right after. I think they wanted Christopher Reeve to have a cameo, but they couldn't get schedules aligning or something.
No.
Not what it was?
It wasn't schedules. He could. They may say that. He may have said that. He didn't want to be in it. He really did not want to be in it. He was already not too fired up about the way the series was going, and in fact,
the easy parts of Superman 3 he didn't like.
Possibly. I think that everybody, himself, Margot, all of them that were the regulars throughout the series, were put off right from the hiccup that happened with Superman 2 when Richard Donner was removed and they had to do all the reshoots. They were already annoyed, And especially when they saw the tone of it, yes, it was still a great movie, but there were elements of it that were like, this would have been better if you'd have just let, Dick's version go. Thing. Yeah. And then by 3, he was like, Richard Pryor, are you serious?
I know Reeve did it because he loved playing the character. And why he continued.
And the only reason they got him back for 4 was specifically because he got some input on it, some of the story elements. And I'm gonna normally I kind of go off on letting the star have too much creative input. I look at things like Shatner with Star Trek V and Picard with, or what's his name?
Patrick Stewart with Star Trek Picard, yeah.
Well, with Picard especially, but I was going to actually go as far back as Nemesis.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was the one that came up with the whole stupid thing where he wanted dune buggies and crap. Stupid. That's the only reason that stuff was stuck in there.
Stupid.
And it's like, but it turns out it's just the opposite with Superman 4. All of the good elements that you would have liked about Superman 4, that was the stuff that Christopher Reeve fought for. I'd almost like to have had him write the damn thing.
I think that
I might be going a little far on that.
I think 4 was probably partly because of Murphy's Law was in play and everything that could go wrong did go wrong with that production. So, but getting back to Supergirl, I want to give some props to the lead actress, Helen Slater.
Helen Slater, oh my gosh, right?
Was the best actress they could have cast at that time for that part. She's like a living goddess as far as I'm
right. I mean, the blonde, the blue eyes. Yes. I have a type, right?
Yes. And, fortunately, she still has the Legend of Billie Jean to fall back on. That's a classic. That's
a great one too, and very underrated. I think a lot of people. It was a bit of a sleeper. I think a lot of people don't know about that.
I think people have gone back to it since then. It's now one of these classic '80s movies. It's interesting because it's basically about a young teenage woman. Kind of. I don't want to say from the wrong side of the tracks because she wasn't like a criminal or anything, but she kind of gets framed for being a bad person, and she becomes an outlaw, but then she ends up becoming an inspiration to put upon kids around the country, and they all start seeing her as like a Robin Hood type. Isn't that what happens?
Pretty much, yeah. Also, great soundtrack, but you kind of assume that if it was an 80s movie.
Yeah. But, the main title, who did that? It wasn't Hart, was it? Maybe it was somebody else.
I don't know. Now I'm going to have to look up. We're actually doing more of a Helen Slater than a Supergirl.
Well, that's because she's the main star. Didn't just star her, though. We had some other actors. The actor who played Jimmy Olsen guest stars in it as Jimmy Olsen.
Right. Absolutely. And
is in it. Yeah. Okay.
Oh my God! I was going to say Faye Dunaway is the villain. So they're going to the formula that they did with Superman, where they get Gene Hackman, right, as the villain, and
like how do they actor people respect? Yes.
Yeah. Not to okay. So you have a villain who is the villain's evil, right? There's no doubt about it. Very selfish, very, very villainous, but also a little bit of camp, a little bit of humor in that they whether you liked it or not, it was successful in Superman, the movie, so they were following the same formula with Supergirl. You kind of can't blame them for that,
Yeah.
But Pat Benatar, Invincible.
Pat Benatar, okay.
Yep.
So what's the plot of Supergirl? Let's see.
Okay, so
Argo City, I think she's staying in, right? That's
right. So first, let's back up, and I'm gonna put this in a little bit of context as the comic book fan, right? A lot of people, I think some people that have been with me a long time know this story, but the way I got into comics was it was late 70s. I used to spend the summers with my grandmother in Ohio. My uncle owned a marina in Ohio, and my grandmother and grandfather worked there. He was retired, and it was just, a place for them to stay and make a little extra money, right? And Grandpa worked in the bait shop downstairs. Grandma worked upstairs in the at the lunch counter, and on Wednesdays that was their day off. So my grandmother got up real early on Wednesday, and I would go with her. She always had a standing hair appointment every Wednesday morning. I don't know exactly. She was getting a dye, shampoo, trim. I don't know what she was getting.
Well, what women do in the hair salons.
Yeah, okay. Exactly. I wasn't paying attention. The reason I wasn't paying attention was because before her appointment, we would go next door, and she would get me a donut or sweet roll or something like that, and a comic book. The very first comic book that I picked out was an issue of The Daring New Adventures of Supergirl. Why Supergirl? I like Superman, and I figured, well, they're going to talk about Superman maybe and, get some And Netter's waving at me, and she does the hands in front of the chest thing. No, I don't think that was it at the time, although maybe a little bit later, absolutely. Especially as they changed her outfit. And I'm getting to that part, because that's very relevant to the movie. But I was very, very keyed into the lore of Superman. So I knew the lore of Supergirl. And so, origin for Supergirl. She was, and now keep in mind too, those of you that are like post New 52, rebirth, that kind of thing, her origin has changed in the modern day. Back in the Silver Age, the Earth 1 pre-crisis Supergirl, she was younger than Kal-El. She was born quite literally after the destruction of Krypton.
Right.
The city of Argo was protected. Her father her father Zor-El was a scientist as well, but more of an engineer. And he had built a big dome over Argo City before the destruction of Krypton. Not specifically to protect it when the planet was destroyed, but for other environmental and protective reasons. It just so happened that when the planet was destroyed, they're on this asteroid, right? Mm-hmm. Protected by this dome. So they still had atmosphere. The whole city was literally saved because of Zor-El.
So it was basically like a biosphere.
Exactly.
Right.
Only difference was now they're on a piece of kryptonite, right? So now everyone's going to die of radiation poisoning. So he, as an engineer, he got everyone in the city to pull all the lead together that they had, and they made these lead sheets to put on. It's not realistic, but it's comics, right? Lead sheets to protect the city.
I'm seeing the panels right now of people, some kid giving his lead toy wagon.
If you know comics of the 70s, you could almost picture this in your head.
Yes.
So that was the thing. And there was never an explanation, at least for the longest time, what happened, but the city couldn't continue forever. So he sent, and like I said, he had a daughter after, the city was on this asteroid. So she's much younger. He does the same, and she's like a teenager or coming up on teenager, about the time that the city starts to fail. And he's not going to be able to keep everyone alive. So he says, you know what? It worked for Jor-El. It's going to work for me. I'm sending my daughter to Earth with instructions to seek out her cousin Kal. He'll take care of you, and off you go. So she comes to Earth all like teenage girl, right? And the story starts out, it really just started out as a story within the Superman title, and then over time she ended up in Superman Family and so forth. She had supporting roles in Superman's girlfriend Lois Lane and the Jimmy Olsen comic, which all got put together into Superman Family. And then when that shut down, she got her, it just kind of, the numbering went into the Supergirl title proper, but it maintained the same numbering system. And when they
just changed the title of it, and it became Supergirl centered, but with
exactly
other characters in it.
But then in the early 80s, they canceled that and started a brand new title, The Daring New Adventures of Supergirl. And that's what I had seen, and that's what I was reading. And it was just this. If you think about comics today, right? They're looking for a new audience, maybe a younger audience, a teen audience, teen girls, right? So it was very much kind of romance based. The boys that she was dating as she was going to college. She was going to college in Chicago, a fictional university called Lakeside University. I always assumed it was either supposed to be like Loyola or UIC or something like that, she gets a role as in a soap opera called Secret Hearts, kind of like Invitation to Love in Twin Peaks, right?
Interesting.
And so yeah, And so a lot of great, especially if you're a teenage girl. But there was a lot of DC lore there that I was really kind of digging. She got a couple of Superman villains, but they created all new villains for her, right? Okay, so I'm leading up to something. So they decide we're going to do a spin-off, right? Or from the movie, right. We're going to do a Supergirl movie. They turn to
movie makes sense. People know Supergirl. The Wonder Woman was a big hit, so
exactly. They turn to Julia Schwartz and Carrie Bates, and they say, okay, we're going to do this thing, and we want it to sync up with the comics. So they think about it, and they're like, well, let's see, what's your script? Because they give them the origin. They write the script, and they're like, oh, that's a little different than what we had planned. So they do, and they did this, soft retcons of history all the time. So they did this storyline where this alien creature was partly responsible for an asteroid collision or whatever that breaks up the ground, causing the kryptonite poisoning, and that's why they sent Supergirl to Earth. And despite having done this and making this change in the comic, it never makes it into the movie.
Of course
and they go with this crazy idea of this object called the Omega Hedron, right?
Yes.
And for the movie,
keeps everything together, right?
Right. But but that's fine. That's fine. I mean, if you squint and tilt your head a little bit, something's causing the destruction of her city. They need to send her away. But it's the kind of element where this MacGuffin is stolen, ends up on Earth, or not stolen, but lost, ends up on Earth. She has to go and retrieve it. And it's very weird that this movie ends up having an ending where she ends up going back to Argo City, restoring this power source to the city, and saving the city. And I have to believe there would have been some sort of a follow-up later if the movie had been more successful. But it wasn't, because it was just hokey. It really was. It really was.
So there's the part in the movie where she gets in the escape Kryptonian pod thing with the stone thing, I think. I don't remember.
No, what happened here's what happens.
The stone get lost and then the place falls apart.
What it is, first you have to kind of understand the Omega Hedron. It is, again, it's a MacGuffin. It's a power source for the city, but it was created by... It should have been created by her father. It wasn't. They should have just cast Peter O'Toole as her father. They didn't
do that.
They just made him some artist scientist who had created this tool that was being used as a power source, but you could also use it as... Have you ever seen those little handheld 3D printer pens where you can draw things in plastic in 3D? Yes. That's kind of what this Omega Hedron was, but a little bit more elaborate, right?
Yeah.
And you could make constructs like birds and butterflies and stuff. And
right.
Well, he lets Kara use it, right? And she uses it to make a bird or something that crashes into the dome and opens up a hole in the dome, and the Omega Hedron goes out. Okay.
She's going after it. She has to go after it to retrieve
This is a problem. So they put her, and actually they don't even put her in the rocket ship. She decides to get into the rocket ship to go after it, while, Peter O'Toole closes the thing up using the little wand that he had and whatnot. She goes after it, and I don't think they even really explain how it gets to Earth. I always imagined it ended up in the same hyperspace hyperlane or whatever that was opened up by Clark's ship. Yeah, I put way more thought into it than the writers of this movie did, right?
The one the Thanagarians were building for hundreds of years to use the Earth or something.
No, because they had established in canon that when Kal-El, his ship went from Krypton to Earth, it opened up like a hyperspace portal between those two sectors of space. And they did that just to explain why so much of that kryptonite ends up on Earth. It's like a big funnel, a highway of this stuff landing on Earth. Well,
how they explained it on Superman the animated series was when the thing went, it almost went through like a hyperspace thing or warp thing, and when his ship went in there, kryptonite went with him. Do you understand?
Yes, that's what they did in the Bronze Age. That was a contrivance that John Byrne came up with. So yeah, good on them.
Probably where they got it from, yeah. Anyway.
And so anyway, she goes to Earth looking for this thing, and this thing landing on Earth ends up being the origin for the villain character. Completely made up for the movie. They ended up creating a character like her in the comics. Black Star or something like that. I can't really remember. Anyway,
they said they wanted to go with a magic-themed villain rather than something scientific, because they said they never did that in the Superman movie, because obviously Superman is vulnerable to magic, so they wanted to have that.
And that would have been much better if they had committed to it and explained it.
Yes.
Because I really loved that they were going with, okay, she is this person who dabbles in witchcraft, but in the same way, your kooky liberal girlfriend dabbles in, and Wicca and blah, 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 and this and that, and doing spells. But she's got these dreams of becoming a powerful magician, right? And, whatever. When the Omega Hedron shows up, this is technology that she is going to use to augment her magical ability, but you've already established it's not magic. It's just taking your thoughts and making them reality. Like I said, like an advanced type of 3D printer, right? So you're looking at this going, I don't really see this as being her having magic.
No, it isn't. That's the problem.
This is like the Tempest, what was the creature from, and they literally ripped this off from Forbidden Planet, the Tempest, right? The monster she creates.
Yeah, the creature from the Id. Yeah.
Exactly. When you see that, you're like, okay, this is not magic. This is, exactly what we saw in the Forbidden Planet. And so, that would have been just fine if they would establish it was magic, and that's why she's vulnerable to it. They never did any of that. So, duh.
There's a romance thing with her, like Faye Dunaway likes this, I guess.
Yeah, his name was Ethan. That was the boyfriend that she, kind of, took an interest in, ends up being stolen away by magic or
she
domination
gives him
or
a
whatever.
love potion originally, and then when he
that's what it was.
He perceives it's Kara, remember? And then he's in love with
her. Right. Yeah, it was really loopy. But here's the thing about that though. You could poo-poo all over that, and you could also point out Ethan was not the name of a character that ever showed up in the comics or whatever. That's fine, because the way her storylines were going, she had different boyfriends all the time, and they'd just disappear, and you'd never hear from them again.
I thought that Jimmy Olsen and her were supposed to be an item.
No.
Okay.
No, this was a perfectly accurate, because in the movie,
her
exactly the way it was,
the girlfriend.
Her roommate was Lucy Lane.
Okay, Lois Lane's cousin, right.
Exactly, who did date Jimmy Olsen in the comics. So all of that was spot on. They were doing just fine with all of that.
He shows up when they all go to Popeyes in the scene, I remember that.
Yes, there was a lot of scenes of Popeyes. A lot of the promotional stills is her posing in front of Popeyes because product placement, obviously. And
one of my favorite fast food chains, though I don't eat there often because it's not good for me. But it's good fried chicken.
And Lucy, of course, in school, she's in her dorm room. She's got a poster of Superman, Christopher Reeve.
But you can't even see Christopher Reeve. His face is in shadow.
Yeah, exactly. But it made sense though, right? Because it's like, this is the guy that my sister likes. Well, could be my brother-in-law someday.
People in that world, everybody looks up to Superman, though. I mean,
that's true. Yeah, that's pretty much true too. But
I remember the scene when she lands on Earth and jumps out of the pod, and then she's already in the Supergirl outfit and jumping, and I can almost see the strings, and I'm like, this is where the movie sinks right here, because it's like, it looks so, and I feel horrible for Helen Slater. Because I know she's doing her best. She did a great job to the extent that she was able. She did some really graceful moves. She just didn't understand the I guess you'd say, aerodynamics of flight the way Christopher Reeve did. And that might be an unfair standard to hold someone to, because no one before or since has ever really matched Christopher Reeve's understanding of the physicality of what it would probably really be like to fly. And I credit a lot of that to his being a pilot, Troy, isn't that like Green Lantern powers?
Yeah. In fact, that would have been a great little tie-in if they had done that.
Kooky liberal girlfriend, would I do that to myself? You know what would have been interesting if the villains in a Supergirl type of thing would have been people like in The Craft who were messing around with
Yes,
her when they
yes.
like high school students of hers that were. I don't know if they ever did.
Which
like
probably would have been better to have a villain that was closer to her age, like other girls in the college. Instead, it was Faye Dunaway and Brenda Vaccaro, both actresses I greatly admire, but yeah, probably a little bit,
again, and it could be just. It could also. You don't always have to have everything have to be related to the hero.
Right.
Like this could be them. I don't know, trying to summon Mordru or whatever the guy's name was.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, but
and like I said, I was collecting the comics through this time. Of course, I got the DC Comics adaptation of the movie, but it doesn't fit in with the comic. It's just a special side thing. But
did you notice how Faye Dunaway's character had her own version of Otis?
In Brenda Vaccaro, yeah, exactly.
Anyway, you're saying though about the comic tie-in? You said there was a movie adaptation?
Yeah, there was. They did this for all the comic movies. They always did an adaptation. And sometimes they would make little changes within the comic that made it kind of fit a little bit better with the comics. But there was no question that this was not canon to the comics. This was something else entirely. But, with the exception of that ending, I could totally have seen this as being an early adventure for Supergirl in the Silver Age.
Yeah, and I don't know. And like I said, we do Supergirl now because we have a Supergirl-related story later on in the stream. But,
yeah.
I like Supergirl. I'd like to see them do more with her. I didn't make it through that series they had on TV. I did like a couple episodes, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not feeling this.
Yeah, we kind of noped out right from the beginning. As soon as we saw that they had to turn Cat, as soon as it became The Devil Wears Prada with superpowers, I was like, I'm out. This is not. And the way they did Cat Grant as I wasn't buying into that.
No. There were so many missed opportunities, though. You know what they could have done on that series, which would have been neat? They could have done the death of return of Superman from Supergirl's perspective on that series, because basically
right.
It would have been him dying, and basically like she's it. There's no more Superman, and then you could have seen the emergence of the four Supermen and her dealing with it. And who do I trust? You know what I mean?
That would have been awesome because we didn't have that. Yeah. We didn't even have that in the comics at the time.
No,
because we were only seeing her character. They did focus on it in one of the Superman titles, but it was still the Superman title, so it wasn't fully focused on Supergirl. She was the primary hero in that particular title at that time, but you were also getting Lois and Jimmy and the focus on them, and it wasn't in her own title. So yeah, good point. And
I noticed she didn't help Superman in the fight, which I guess she later regretted, but I would have done it in the show. I probably would have had him. Maybe she does go up against Doomsday and gets almost killed, like beaten within an inch of her life, and that's when Superman.
I would have done to her. Yeah. I would have done with her exactly.
Like I would have killed her off, but she would have been so.
No, it should have been just like Captain Marvel and Thanos. Just he slaps her away, and you don't see her again. And by the time she comes to, Clark's already dead.
Yeah,
that would have actually been great.
You did it. Because that way, because I don't like the idea of her standing out. I think she would have gone to help Superman.
Absolutely. You know, but I don't like what they did in the Snyderverse either, where you had, this contrivance where Wonder Woman's there and she could have done it with the kryptonite. No, I have to do it. It's got to be me. Why? This thing's going to kill you. I'm as strong as you are, and I'm not, vulnerable to kryptonite.
There's only one part in that Snyder movie that I liked, at least as far as the Doomsday fight went. And it's when the U.S. government or whatever, they're going to send like missiles or up to blow up Doomsday while Superman has him in the air, and they're saying, "Well, won't that hit Superman?" And I know, it doesn't matter. Send him anyway. Yeah. And I think Superman knows that this could kill him, but he doesn't care, and he still sends Doomsday and himself down into the missiles.
Yep.
Didn't work, but I kind of like that. That's something Superman would do, even though it's kind of.
It was unfortunately. it was unfortunately too little too late
Yeah.
for that character development
Yes.
when you'd already had him pretty much responsible for the destruction of Metropolis in the previous movie. You know, it's like...
It's a disaster. Anyway.
So what I'm getting at, and the reason I'm harping on that point is because going back to Supergirl, the things I didn't like about Supergirl, I could kind of get over. It wasn't great, but it was okay. At least it wasn't...
And the sequel was good, and we can just forget about that other movie.
True, and you know, by comparison to the Snyderverse, I'm sorry, I would still say Supergirl 1984 is still head and shoulders above all of that, and I would say better than anything we got on the CW too. Fight me on it, I dare you. But I will say this: Helen Slater did not reprise her role, but she did get cameo appearances in both Smallville and in the Supergirl CW series.
I remember on Smallville, she played, I guess, Kal-El's mother, his Kryptonian mother in that.
Lara, may have been.
And it was neat because, and she still looked great. And she was, I think they were surveying the Earth, you know, under, you know, in disguise, you know.
Right.
They were just looking, and I think they were just visiting Earth, you know, undercover just to see what it was like. I think.
Well, I did like that. Yeah. I did like that idea that because the comics have been very, very not committal about how Jor-El knew about Earth and whether he knew that he was sending Clark somewhere where he'd have powers. By the time they rebooted him in the Bronze Age with John Byrne. John Byrne had established that the Kryptonians were xenophobic and never left Krypton, but Jor-El was doing basically what we're doing. You know, how we use telescopes and stuff to find, you know, extra solar, you know, planets, you know, around other stars. He was doing the same thing, but with greater technology so he could actually view other societies. And he had figured out that if he sent Clark to Earth, he would be this superpowered godlike being who, you know, would definitely be able to survive, which I believe was a little bit inspired by the line from Marlon Brando when he says he'll need the Earth's sun will give him these abilities and he'll need that advantage to survive without us and blah 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 blah. So the evolution of a mythology, so to speak.
And Jesse Garrado has a question. I wonder if the comic book version, little changes were deleted scenes similar to Top's comic version of Lost World of Jurassic Park. Yeah, they did that with the Star Wars comic book too, didn't they? In the Star Wars comic, that a lot of the scenes, like that Jabba scene, that was in the comic book adaptation, and there was a couple of scenes in the Batman '89 comic book adaptation that were scenes that were deleted. There's the scene where, you know, hubba hubba hubba, money money money, who do you trust? There's a scene where Knox, you know, grabs the mask or whatever and he's trying to fight people off and he knows what's happening. That in the movie,
he picks up the money and looks at it, and it's a counterfeit bill, and it's got Joker's face on it. That whole my face that. on the dollar bill. And it was a deleted scene, but it showed up in the comic.
It was a counterfeit thing, but he still had the people going nuts over collecting the money, remember?
Exactly. That's part of the joke, right? That's very Joker, right?
The Joker would do, yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know, DC, we want you back. Please
right?
To us.
If you go back to doing stories like this 84 Supergirl, I'd be okay with that. That would be a place where I could meet you, and then maybe you could build from there. You know, that's all I'm saying.
So I guess we have our first story of the night. Time to zoom into the modern times. Homer will no longer. Homer will.
Well, yeah. Let me do the pivot for you. I'll help you out here. So we did an article last week about Homer and how because they're changing with the times, he's not going to strangle Bart anymore, and we had our words to say about that. Well, we got to do a little bit of a retraction because with additional information this week, apparently Homer Simpson will continue to strangle Bart on The Simpsons, says the co-writer. Nothing is changing. Now, as I was sharing in the chat earlier on, we were basing this on, what was going around and being reported last week, but all of these outlets were drawing inferences based on an episode. They did a little joke, oh, I don't do that anymore, times have changed. They took that literally as the show announcing they weren't going to pull this gag anymore. But that was not based on an official word from anyone working with the show. This was just them taking what happened in an episode and basically extrapolating their own opinions. But now we actually have the co-creator giving a statement on it.
Okay. So, The Simpsons patriarch will continue to get aggressive with his son, co-creator and producer James L. Brooks tells People. Homer Simpson, who has often strangled son Bart for laughs on Fox's long-running animated series, seemed to suggest he would change his ways on the episode McMansion and Wife, which aired on October 22nd. Homer, played by Dan Castellaneta, met his new neighbor, Thayer, Hank Azaria, who noted Homer had quite a grip when they shook hands. See, Marge, strangling the boy has paid off, Homer quipped to his wife, Marge, Julie Kaner. Just kidding. I don't do that anymore, smiling, he said. Times have changed. Perhaps not. Asked about that episode, Brooks tells People, don't think for a second we're changing anything. Brooks then showed an illustration of Homer strangling Bart, who was holding a smartphone with a headline that read, Simpsons No More Strangling. Text in a word bubble showing Homer yelling at his son, why you little clickbaiting? Oh. Nothing getting tamed. Nothing. Brooks continues. He'll continue to be strangled. If you want to use that awful term for it, he'll continue to be loved by his father in a specific way. That's kind of funny. Despite Brooks's declaration, Homer has actually strangled Bart. Nancy Cartwright on air hasn't actually in some time. According to IGN, Homer last strangled Bart on screen during the show's 31st season, which aired 2019 to 2020. The Simpsons has aired on Fox since 1989. Okay, so maybe it's just they didn't feel that gag worked in whatever episodes they were working on. But I understand why the outlets kind of jumped to that conclusion, though, based on that line of dialogue. But I don't know.
Yeah, I get it. It's just, they take and run with an article when you haven't gotten any official word.
Perhaps
and now
you should go ask the creators of the show if this is indeed the case.
And that's the way media is supposed to be. You're supposed to follow up before you report. But having listened to that article, the way you read it, makes me wonder if, like in the recording booth, if Dan Castellaneta had ever actually put his hands on Nancy Cartwright and said, why you little?
I'm sure it must have happened once.
I'm sure playing around. I'm sure they
as long
who knows what kind of relationship these guys have playing around behind the scenes and stuff like that.
He didn't pull an Ezra Miller.
Well, you want to fight? I'll fight.
Yeah, that was not cool.
No.
Will he be back as the Flash, you think?
I don't. Definitely not after. Look, I'm going to go out on a limb and say not only is he not coming back as the Flash, but chances are we're also not going to be seeing any of these movies that are coming out right now that are losing crap tons of money. They're not going to be getting sequels. We're not going to see another Marvels. That's for damn sure. And if things go the way I expect them to, we won't be getting an Aquaman sequel.
Young Avengers.
Yeah, we'll put a pin in that one. After this weekend, yeah, we don't actually have an article about it, but there's plenty of other YouTubers that you're probably following right now. And if you're not, you should be. Valiant Renegade, WDW Pro, that Park Place and whatnot. They're all talking about this. Culture Casino. This has been a really bad week for Marvel. The drop-off was 80%, and the first week was horrible to begin with.
They kept wanting to blame the men, and it turns out, no, it was the women that didn't go to see this movie.
Yeah, 65% of the audience was men. Want to try again, pal? And that's the kind of stuff he's getting online. He's getting roasted online. People, just regular people, not even like, hardline comic fans are coming back going, 65% of the audience was men. Try again, pal.
It's weird. I remember years ago when they announced the Marvels, we were all anticipating when is the Captain Marvel sequel going to come out, and when will we see if it will fail? Because we always had suspicions that the first Captain Marvel did not do nearly as well as they said it did, or maybe it was just because it was sandwiched between the two last Avengers movies. But now we know, and it's been an unmitigated disaster. Of course, when the director leaves before the movie's even done to go work on some other project.
Yeah, exactly. Jesse Guajardo says, speaking of The Simpsons, what happened to their Butterfinger commercials? I remember those. Hey, man, never lay a finger on my Butterfinger.
It was by Butterfingers. I remember.
Yeah, well,
good advertising.
It's good advertising because, you go through these phases. I always loved Butterfingers, and I'll go for a long period of time not having one. Then you see a commercial, and you're like, oh, yeah, I think I kind of like a Butterfinger now, and it worked. And for a while, I had Butterfingers again.
And we got one at the doctor's office.
And we did get one at the doctor's office just recently.
Dentist, he's giving out good Butterfingers?
He hands out candy if you're really, really good. And, I didn't cry once, so he let me pick out a candy bar.
I've had horrible things done to my teeth and I don't cry out. They didn't give me a lollipop or anything. It's ridiculous.
Well, you got a bad dentist is all it is. But yeah, you know how these things go. They do a run, because remember, there's licensing involved and stuff like that. They do it for a short period of time and then it just ends and they go on to some other, marketing plan.
No end game and good MCU reputation to save you this time, Larson.
Yeah.
They have not done the Captain Marvel character any favor in these subsequent Marvel movies. When I think she showed up in a cameo in Shang-Chi.
Yeah.
And she actually came off as kind of obnoxious. She said, "Oh, go ask Bruce. He has my number." And he's like, "I don't have her number." And it's like she's showing up as rude. It's like nothing in any media. Like they didn't have her show up. I kept thinking they were going to have her show up on that the Ms. Marvel series or something, right? Like,
yeah,
she would show up in an episode or something, and maybe no, they didn't do that. They've done nothing to endear.
Well, that's what a lot of this whole movie was supposed to be their crossover for these characters, and it's like, no, that's not how this is supposed to work. You needed to seed this in those previous shows. There needed to be interplay between all of these characters on Ms. Marvel, on WandaVision, on Secret Invasion. All of those things had to have elements to lead up to this. They did not have that. They were all separate characters that all came together, and if you didn't watch all those shows, you're like, I have no idea what the hell's going on.
From what I've heard, Secret Invasion messes with the continuity so much people really don't think you should even consider it canon because it just messes up too much stuff.
I would say anything that was
think
on
that Disney should just write that out and just say no. This is.
I'm saying anything that was on Disney Minus shouldn't even be considered canon. It's behind a paywall anyway. Not everyone saw it, so screw it. I don't care.
But speaking of Disney, I think that Bob Iger is made a comment about after the recent earnings call.
Did you like the thumbnail? Well, what actually happened was we're going to pick this apart pretty good.
You there? I got to read it.
Yeah, I dropped it. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to read it. Okay. Yeah, you see, it was like this.
You see, it was
funny.
like this.
I think of that scene. I think I sent you the clip from Hellboy 2, but we'll get it.
Yeah, that was funny too. Yeah,
Hellboy 2 is hilarious. Okay, in a recent earnings call, Disney CEO Bob Iger explained how the company went off course, and it's a lesson for every business. You hear this, business leaders? You listen up.
Yeah.
Yes, you can have too much of a good thing. With the box office failure of The Marvels, the latest film from Disney-owned Marvel Studios, everyone's talking about a crisis at Disney. After all, there was a time when Disney seemed to have the golden touch, with every movie it launched meeting both rave reviews and box office success. So what is the problem at Disney? In a recent earnings call, Disney CEO Bob Iger explained exactly what went wrong from his perspective. It's clear that the pandemic created a lot of challenges creatively for everyone, including for us, said Iger.
Every week, every month that goes by that they are still referring to the pandemic, they lose more and more people's goodwill, because it started with all of us. All the hardline fans that were already critical of them, going, bullshit, this has nothing to do with the pandemic. You're using it as an excuse. At this point, people are looking back going, you know how long ago the pandemic was, pal? No, we don't buy it. Screw you.
This makes you respect Darth Vader from Empire when he keeps saying, I don't want excuses. It's like,
Right?
okay. In addition, we were leaning into a huge increase in how much we were making, and I've always felt that quantity can actually be a negative, can be actually a negative when it comes to quality. And I think that's
Now
exactly
pause right there.
Yeah.
Mid sentence, I'm pausing you. If you stop right there, I could agree with him, right? If you now wait a minute, if you pause right where you did, quantity, you put out a large quantity and quality can suffer, and that is true. When you're just you could make that argument about some of the movies they've been making, especially since we're not talking about movies, we're talking about shows on TV, and they're putting them out. Don't bother, don't do quality control, just get them out there. Does it make sense? Doesn't matter. Get it out there. Doesn't matter.
Yes. In this particular case, it makes sense because it's Disney doing everything. I was thinking back to when Nintendo, back in the Nintendo 64 games, you don't have as many games out as your system than your competition. Well, we're focused on quality more than quantity. I'm thinking they have quantity on the PlayStation, but there's also plenty of quality as well.
Yeah, and this is okay.
But
then the other
side, as a Nintendo fan,
I agree.
Yes.
The other side of that coin, though, is that if you have it planned out well enough, you can do both, right? If you have a good showrunner with a great vision, then you can have multiple, writers or whatever. You take that movie, you take that movie, and you have one guy over them who's coordinating everything. Do you think Kevin Feige is that person? F no. He has no idea. He is nothing more than a figurehead letting everyone do their own thing. And that's why we've gotten where there is no quality control, period. So his although in theory his statement is legit, in practice that's not what's happening. What's happening is you got quantity with zero oversight, and it's just get it all out there. Buckshot all over the wall.
I like this. Disney has had problems for the past 10 years. I like the dollar sign at Disney.
Right?
Okay, but here's the last part of the quote, okay? Mm-hmm. And I think that's exactly what happened. We lost some focus. Some focus.
I think you lost focus long before you started going for the quality. In fact, I would say that if you, and we've gone through this timeline before, I would say that there was never a focus from the time Disney took over. From the time Disney took over Marvel Studios, that is when things started to go downhill. Now, we didn't notice it right away because there was enough momentum up the hill, right? We still got a couple movies after Disney bought it that were still really, really good, and things were in play. The momentum was still on an upward trajectory. But by the time we started getting projects that were 100% Disney-initiated projects, we're going down the other side of that hill.
Okay. Bob lost focus once he went on his shopping.
Yeah,
Okay.
That is true, David. You're 100% right on that.
Troy, that implied Disney executives had a plan to begin with. I don't know.
Exactly. No, I was kind of saying no, they didn't. I would say that from the moment that Disney bought Marvel, that's when things went to shit.
Welcome, Connie Cleary, to the chat.
Yep.
All right. So let's move on to so this
Comics?
is Disney. I'm sure this will not be the last reading from Bob Iger, but I notice it's always we. It's never I with Bob Iger.
I honestly think he is consciously or unconsciously referring to himself in the royal we. I honestly believe that.
Oh, well, that might be true. All right. What was the first Disney movie that was a Disney project 100%? It's hard to tell because I think they had bought Marvel Studios right before the first Avengers movie came out, but it just doesn't.
Yeah.
I don't know, to be honest with you. I don't know, because did they own Marvel Studios there, or did they just own Marvel Comics at that point? I don't remember now. That's an interesting thing. We should do research on that to figure out when exactly happened.
And I don't think it's a simple this movie was before and this movie was after. There is a spectrum there.
All right. So IDW launches twisted new sci-fi horror series Golgotha Motor Mountain. Motor Mountain.
What a weird title.
All right. So I don't know where you found this one from, but let's go ahead and read it. In an exclusive CBR announcement, IDW Publishing is revealing a brand new series launching in 2024, Golgotha Motor Mountain, an offbeat science fiction horror series about two brothers, Elwood and Vernon Damnage, in Golgotha Knob, Kentucky, who are trying to make one last meth sale before moving to Cincinnati, where
right?
Are turned upside down by a meteor crashing in their town, causing the people in the surrounding mountain to mutate in horrible ways. The series is written by Matthew Ehrman and Lonnie Nadler, with art by Robbie Rodriguez, the co-creator of Spider-Gwen, colors by Marissa Louise, letters by Hassan Atzmani El Hiao, and every issue will have a backup story that is drawn by Nikola Sismezgija. That will be a manga story set in the universe of the series. That's kind of funny. It's like the Watchmen, the comic book in the Watchmen comics. Remember that, the Black Freighter? That's running me up. In the exclusive preview pages of the first issue provided by IDW, we see Elwood and Vernon Damnage are making one last batch of meth before moving to Cincinnati, which these brothers is viewed as the height of luxury. The brothers are wearing their custom gas masks to deal with the fumes of the meth cook, and that will likely play a major role in the plot of the series, as right in the middle of their cook, a meteor crashes in front of their home. The meteor will cause mutations in the people on their mountain, so the brothers will still try to go through with selling their big batch of meth, but they will now have to deal with mutated neo-Nazis, cannibal police officers, and all sorts of other deadly threats if they want to get out of Golgotha Knob and onto the glory that is Cincinnati. This is having an Evil Dead vibe to it.
Yeah, it is.
Have you noticed that? Yeah.
Now, why is this article important? All that we're doing is we're giving you the latest news on what IDW is up to, and the reason that it's relevant right now is because of the next article, which in a way is a little bit of another retraction from some time ago.
Okay.
Apparently, IDW Publishing not closing its San Diego office. So, and let me go ahead and read this, because the way this is laid out by Bleeding Cool is a little strange. So I'll
leave it to you.
Go ahead and jump into it.
Hey, I live in Cincinnati. Sounds exciting. Are you going to read it?
Who, me? I'll read it. No, I'll read the IDW article. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Bleeding Cool gets the word that IDW Entertainment Publishing shut their San Diego offices last week, and that it came as quite a surprise. Bleeding Cool gets the word that IDW Entertainment Publishing shut their San Diego offices last week, and that it came as quite a surprise to both staffers and executives. See, that's the way that it's written is very, very strange. While Bleeding Cool hasn't had any official word about the move, I understand that, and I'm assuming that I is Rich Johnson, who wrote this article. I understand that this is as a result of a number of issues. Cost cutting is obviously an issue, but it's one of a number of considerations. It is in favor of IDW's existing Sherman Oaks, Los Angeles offices. It recognizes that many of the San Diego staffers are working from home now, post-pandemic, over leaving the office empty. And the new IDW hires after the redundancies earlier in the year are more likely to have been Los Angeles based than San Diego based. But there have been no additional redundancies as a result of this closure. And then it goes into an update. I like the title here, the subtitle, Schrodinger's Offices, right? After not hearing from IDW for a couple of days and getting multiple confirmation pieces. Oh, by the way, this isn't probably the article I would have preferred to go to because it's so poorly edited, but it is the original article.
Fine.
So everyone else is referring back to this. I try to give primary sources whenever possible. So that's why we're doing this. After not hearing from IDW for a couple of days and getting multiple confirmation pieces, Bleeding Cool ran the article above. So, and we had covered this previously, by the way. We had mentioned this when it came out, right? After publication, IDW issued the following statement, which flies in the face of what IDW staffers have told us. Is it all down to the language? IDW states, in quotes, "Thank you for reaching out. IDW has not closed the San Diego office. What you've been told about the office being shut down is completely false." Close quotes. "I have reached out for further clarification because something is definitely going down here." Now, just as someone who is in this situation, kind of following the retraction, trying to keep everybody up to date myself, I'm reading this going, oh, we reached out to you for confirmation. You didn't get back to us. We ran with the story, and now you're getting back to us. Maybe you should have gotten back to us before, is all I'm saying, right? Not that I'm a big fan of Bleeding Cool, but I do understand, that sort of mentality.
We need to hear, yes.
Yeah, I need the info. If you don't give me the info, I'll go with what I got. I gave you the opportunity, just saying. Update number 2, IDW are back in touch again with new explanation. See? Because they knew they'd run with it, right? Yeah. Regarding the office, there was an internal misunderstanding over the company looking to potentially relocate its office space in San Diego, a move that has not happened yet and may not even happen at all. The office remains open. We will, close quote. We will see, I guess. I hope all staff know. The original article continues as before. Okay, so I'm going to cut it off right there because the rest of the article we covered over a month ago. So let me cut through this. It's a bunch of legalese, but there's clearly something happening in regards to some layoffs. I mean, that's pretty much confirmed. All 3 versions of this article, there have been redundancies. That just means they're getting rid of some people, right? It also sounds like you got a lot of people that started working from home. Do we really need the office space? Look, I think what it comes down to is what I'm seeing at a lot of different companies, not just comic book companies, all different companies. Yeah. Office spaces that are closed. If you can get people working from home and save on the overhead, do it. Like I've told people on my channel about my attorney. He used to have a law firm downtown, and he was paying on that office space. And then crime started to get real bad. One of his associates got carjacked on Michigan Avenue. Horrible. And he said, you know what? Screw it. I don't need an office downtown to do my practice. Everyone, we're going back to the way it was during the lockdowns. We're going to work from home. And if we need to take a meeting or do a deposition, we'll either go to their office or we'll rent an office for the day, which is what I guess a lot of law firms are starting to do, saving money. It's brilliant. Well, if you can do your business working from home, why not? But it also sounds like whatever plans they got, they haven't finalized. And yeah, you tell people one thing, they get the impression it's something else. They go to the media with it because they're all afraid of losing their job, losing their, whatever. But look, if you have a San Diego office and a Los Angeles office, right? You want to close the San Diego office, doesn't mean you even have to let anyone go. Anyone that you want to keep on, you know what? Now you're going to be working out of the Los Angeles office. You can continue to work from home. It's just that's where the office is if you ever need to physically go into the office to take a meeting. Done. But the one other thing, and this is a minor thing, and the article doesn't cover it, but I think we can all go back to Kelly Sue DeConnick. You don't like my politics, don't buy my book. 2 years later, well, the industry's kind of contracted, and we're kind of worried. Comics are a dying thing, not because people don't like comics, because everybody's putting out crap.
And the trouble is, even if you put something good out, now you have to wade through all the crap. Like this one they're making sounds intriguing. Sounds
intriguing, right?
I would read it, and but
so it's and that's why that context is necessary. They're putting out a new title, so it doesn't sound like IDW is going out of business, but they are definitely contracting, and maybe good. Maybe they will now start, focusing on their business and just
make
doing
comics
better.
fun again. Can you do this, please?
Yeah.
And this one sounds fun. I'll say that.
And it's simple. It's simple as that. Either do it, or if you don't, you're going to go out of business. Just so you know. I mean, your decision to continue putting politics into everything, you have a right to do that. It's your business. You have no one to blame but yourself when it goes tits up. Not that you won't blame everybody, under the sun and call them all, National Socialists, but, that doesn't change reality.
Yeah.
But speaking of comics that, I'm expecting to be a good story, worth looking into, this is becoming more and more a common thing where the transition between movies in these fandom stories go to the comics, and they're being considered canon. And here we have Ghost Corps coming out with, in conjunction with Dark Horse Comics, announcing Ghostbusters Back in Town, bridging the story between Afterlife and Frozen Empire, which we talked about last week and told you about the trailer having dropped.
So now this is sort of like an in-between story. I guess you could read this before the movie comes out to see how they ended up in New York City, which
And
you
if
probably knew they'd eventually end up, right?
Right. And if you if my assumptions are correct, you don't need to read this comic in order to understand what's going on. It's just a little bit of flavor, a little bit of backstory, and
Sort of like when they would have, remember when they did the Star Trek comics and the...
yeah.
Oh,
Well, actually, the Star Trek comics were, if you mean between the movies,
Yes.
they did some stories that really went out and away from where the movies were going. And then when it turned out that between Star Trek 3 and Star Trek 4, they were going
Yes.
it takes place right after. They had to back up the story and rework it to undo everything they'd been doing for a couple of years to set everything back so that they could continue. And honestly,
Does Kirk steal the Enterprise again?
Yeah, kind of.
We forgave you this one time, but if you do it a second time, you're done. And then he steals I don't know.
It was. I don't remember the details, but it was whatever explanation they had for what happened to Spock. His Katra ended up coming apart again, and they had to go back to Vulcan, and that's where it picks up and stuff.
Right?
Yeah, exactly, and that's where it picked up. It was so contrived, but they did a darn good job. It was clear they were putting in a real effort.
But you have to fly the bird of prey for the rest of your voyages.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I'm thinking, and the temptation I think for a lot of people is to look at things like the Star Wars, sequel trilogy, and you got to read this book and this comic and all this other stuff in order to find out what happened, and all of that's canon, and you're like, no, I didn't even like the movies that much. I'm not going to put that much effort into the homework. Well, I think this is kind of like that, but not. You don't have to do the homework if you don't want to, but if you're enjoying Ghostbusters and you like the movies, you'll probably like this comic and go check it out. And I'm actually going to stop into my local comic book shop and say, yeah, put this aside for me when it comes out.
There is one thing I'll say about this. It says in here, given the title Ghostbusters Back in Town, the miniseries will follow Callie, Gail, Trevor, and Phoebe's move to New York City. To ensure a faithful adaptation, the filmmaking duo of Jason Reitman and Gil Keenan have overseen the project, with Reitman telling screenwriter, our friends at Dark Horse have picked up the Spengler family and hand-delivered them to Manhattan, where they will begin their journey back into ghostbusting. It has been a personal thrill to collaborate with these incredible group of artists and storytellers on new chapters in the Proton Jungle. So yeah, this is officially given the okay by the people working on the movie too.
Oh, more than the okay, they've given them insight into the story in order to match it up. And I don't think this article goes into it, but some of the artwork for potential covers are actually inspired by a unused ending that they were going to have for Afterlife. Originally, they were going to have the family towing the Ecto-1 on a trailer going into New York, and so there's some artwork of that. So Yeah, basically this is probably you expect it, right? Kind of like between Ghostbusters 1 Ghostbusters 2, things happened, you find out on the fly, and you're not too terribly surprised because you saw it coming anyway. Same thing here. You're gonna find that the family, I'm guessing they're gonna be living at the firehouse upstairs, and this comic just tells you the story of how they got there. But if you come into the movie and you haven't seen it, all you need to know is that that's where they are. They moved there, right? So, big deal, done.
Well, let's see. People also don't buy comics because young people don't even know they make comics anymore. When they do, when some do, they can't afford it. I'll say this: some of the comics have gotten too pricey. Right.
That's true. And honestly, I don't think it's so much that they don't know they exist. They don't care. They just get the Cliff Notes version from Wikipedia and stuff. That's what they're doing.
It's not the same, though.
No, it's not, but I can tell you with certainty that's what they're doing. Well, honestly, in a way, it's what I'm doing. Because I don't want to read the crap comics they're putting out.
But you will read this one. This one will probably be good.
Oh, yeah, I'm definitely going to. In fact, if they have multiple covers, this might be one where I might bother with some of the alternate covers. I don't normally do that, but I might. We'll see. Okay, man. This next one, I'm pretty hot about this one.
Back into the world of DC, it ties into our good old days earlier. That's why usually when I pick, or when Troy and I pick a good old days, I try to make it reflect something in the news. So I figured, okay, let's talk about the.
I'm sorry, I just dropped the wrong article. My apologies.
What article was it?
I dropped the one after.
Well, we'll get to that in a minute.
We'll get to that one in a second. Let me get back to Supergirl.
I can do that one now if you want. You want me to go do that one now?
I guess it doesn't matter. Yeah, since I already dropped it, let's go ahead and talk about Stevie Nicks.
So it's the next one. I'll go ahead and post it. So I knew nothing about this.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, Proctor was speaking about his own experience with his friends. Yeah. Well, you know who has comic books? At least the trade paperbacks. Your local public library.
That's true.
Same.
That's true.
And
okay.
When you check out a public library book, please do not bring it into the bathroom with you. Anyway.
Oh, jeez. Oh, God. Oh, for crying out loud, man.
People do that. I'm just saying. We'll know. We'll be able to tell.
So this article kind of has me a little bit on edge. I'm a little concerned. Oh, wait a minute. Which one are we doing? Are we doing Supergirl Stevie? Okay, we're going to Stevie Nicks.
Stevie Nicks, because I thought that's one you were fired up about.
I am. I really am. Okay, this one I am pissed about.
Okay, so let me go ahead and read.
Yeah, go ahead and read.
Do you have a thing you want to say before I read?
Well, I was going to say that I need to front load this with, I am a big Stevie Nicks fan.
Right.
Not a Barbie fan. Not a Barbie fan by any means. Yeah, exactly. Not a Barbie fan, but this is where these kinds of toys come into a bit of crossover, right? I might have bought this Barbie had I known about it. The first I heard about it was a retro blasting live stream about it after the announcement and sale went online and it was out of stock already. Done. Gone. Limited edition. Unavailable. And I'm sitting there watching the live stream, listening to what Michael was saying about it. And you know how this goes with live streams. In fact, some of you guys, you miss the first couple articles we talk about. You come in later in the middle of a conversation. Maybe you don't know the context. Someone comes into the live stream and goes, "Oh, Stevie Nicks, I like Stevie Nicks. Maybe I'll pick up one of those." And he goes, yeah, you might want to hold off because get caught up. We're talking about this and it's too late now. So yeah, go ahead. You can read it and then I'll rant some more.
Mattel released its highly anticipated Stevie Nicks Barbie doll Friday, bearing the music icon's signature blonde bangs and dressed in a rumors-inspired wrap dress that pays fitting homage to the Fleetwood Mac singer, and yet the only reviews so far are all 1 star. What's the problem? Mm-hmm. Supply and demand. Even the earliest in line couldn't get their hands on the $55.99 collectible, which was largely brought up by those who want to capitalize on the demand. I set my alarm at midnight to get this order from Target. Immediately sold out, wrote one reviewer. I too stayed up late to try and order this doll as soon as it was released. In one split second on Target's website, it went from coming today to sold out. How is that even possible? wrote another disgruntled fan again, raging against the toy company. In the last 24 hours, I have seen the vultures who are selling them through Amazon jacks up the price from $124 to $230. It's a shame true Stevie Nicks fans are left out cold. I am terribly disappointed how this was handled. Others criticize the company's decision to only sell the doll online, questioning why the doll was not available for purchase in person. Why not release these in stores? I went to 5 Targets today. None had her, and they all told me they weren't available in stores. Shame on you, Mattel, wrote a disappointed father. Now the only way to buy is to pay triple, since the price is pay triple the price and up from online sellers. This is terrible. My daughter is looking forward to this. This is only the latest example of resellers engaging in blatant price gouging, a phenomenon consumers have begun to notice more and more as goods such as collector's items and concert tickets become only available for purchase online. The release of this doll was poorly handled, and the people that order 10 so they can mark them up should be ashamed of themselves, another one-star reviewer stated on the Mattel website. Also, I don't think Mattel should honor those. Ship out one to each person that ordered the max so others have a chance to buy it. Variety reported last month that even the pre-order on Mattel's website sold out within minutes, already popping up on resale sites in early October for double the price. While Mattel limited the pre-orders to 10 purchases per customer, Amazon let customers buy $30 each. Now the cheapest available on the latter costs $219, which is a steal compared to someone selling it for $388.88. Barbie fans will have to wait until the next limited edition release to see if Mattel will stop dragging their heart around to begin.
I see what they did there.
Customer experience. Until then, those in search of the Stevie Nicks tribute Barbie will have to shell out hundreds of dollars plus shipping and handling. I'm a game guy, and sometimes this happens, like with the mini NES. When that came out, that thing pre-orders sold out online in no time, and then I went to stores, and apparently stores only got 5 each. It was a disastrous launch. Nintendo did that one time, so yeah. I think they did better with the SNES Mini, and eventually if you wanted one, you could buy one later on. But this stuff happens. I hate scalpers. I hate it when companies allow them to buy. You know what? You go. This is your ballpark.
Sure. And you know what? I'm going to play the devil's advocate here and push a little bit back on this, and because in the live stream on Michael's channel, there was a lot of people going off on the scalpers.
Right.
And Michael voiced it, but I made this comment, and he agreed with me. You can blame the scalpers if you want, but that's capitalism for you. That's opportunism.
Right.
That opportunity should not even exist in the first place. It is squarely on Mattel. Let me back up and say, you could argue that I've done this, that I've been the scalper. When I got, first I was the beneficiary of a scalper, because when Hasbro did the Jabba sail barge, I didn't know about it until it was done and over with. And my incredible, insane, loves me more than I deserve wife decided for an anniversary gift she was going to seek out a scalper and get it for me. She paid double what it went for on Mattel, or excuse me, on Hasbro. And luckily, he was a fairly reasonable scalper. Yes, it was double the price, but he threw in some extra Jabba's barge related action figures, some of them not easy to get.
And met us halfway.
Met us halfway, so we weren't paying for delivery on it, and he literally only charged us double. So in other words, he had gotten 2 of them. His was free from his point of view. We paid the tax, so to speak, for not having gotten it, when it came out. So, okay, considering it a service. But again, that was Hasbro. This whole HasLab pre-order limited to, if you can't come up with $500 in the next 3 months, you're screwed. It's a bad model. Put out, you're a multi-million-dollar company. Make the toy, sell it at retail. When it sells out, sell some more. You dumbasses.
Another-
It's like they're afraid to make money. So instead of them making $1,000 on that katana, the sail barge, they got only $500 from the scalper. The scalper recoups his money. The money is going in the hands of the scalper,
Yes.
and you know what? Bless them. They're, like I said, they're taking advantage. It's money that the company is losing out on because they're dumbasses.
Okay. Another thing that companies do, I mean, I used to, a company called Limited Run, I don't deal with them anymore, but what they used to do, which I thought was smart, and maybe toy companies do this sometime, is that you do a pre-order. Go ahead, in this period of about a month, you can pre-order this game. When we collect all the pre-orders, we can then determine how many we have to manufacture. And then you can, and then
Yeah.
you're guaranteed a copy. I mean, that's one way of doing it.
That
and
is
then if
a-
someone wants to buy a couple extra copies and sell them on eBay after,
Yeah.
you know what? That's their right because they did the pre-order. And
Well,
it's not like
here's-
they were preventing someone else from doing the pre-order. I understand.
There is a
that.
mixed blessing there,
Yeah,
right?
like I bought one of those for twice the money because I wasn't on the pre-order, but I bought someone from someone at eBay.
So going back to Hasbro with the Star Wars figures, right? I'm just talking figures, okay? They will announce these figures coming out, and they're going to be general. They're not going to be limited, okay? They're just your regular toys. They're announcing them well in advance, and they do exactly what you just said. They make it pre-order. Now, the fact is you could pre-order it through Hasbro, or you can pre-order it through your favorite retailer. The problem is the retailer gets second option on these toys. So if they sell out through Hasbro, they're definitely going to sell out through, say, Entertainment Earth. And I've had way too many pre-orders get canceled by Entertainment Earth, only to go over and find them still available directly from Hasbro. So that's another problem, but it's not my problem. It's the retailer's problem. The retailer is getting cut out of the sales.
I must have ordered something from them because I always get catalogs from Entertainment Earth.
Oh, they got great stuff, and sometimes I've found that sometimes they're the only place you can get certain things from. But with a lot of these pre-orders, it's fine. I order them because I know I want that thing. I order it and forget it. The problem with it is they've done so many pre-orders that come 6 months later when they start shipping. That's when it hits your credit card, and it's all hitting at once. And it's like, dude, when I pay something, I want to pay for it. I want to pay for it right now. You know, this is a problem. So it's actually gotten to the point where I'm going, you know what? I'm not doing the pre-order anymore.
Yeah.
When it comes out, I'll buy it. You know, but coming back to this Barbie, this is a limited edition. There's only so many that they're putting out. So it is all the more incumbent on Mattel to limit the sales. So what happened? Here's what happened, okay? No, I don't have any inside information beyond what I read in this article, but it's the only way this could have happened. At midnight or whatever time, it goes on sale, right? And you're sitting at your computer.
Oh, this is a problem.
You're refreshing, and it goes available. You hit it, you put it in your cart, you go to your cart to pay for the thing, sold out. It's not there. You can't get it. Why? Yes, because the scalpers already had an immediate script on their computer, yes. And not just for 2, but for like 20, yes. 50, 100. That they bought immediately.
This happens with a lot of gaming stuff too. It's kind of similar with the toy community because, you know, like I know with Analog, when they were selling their Analog Pocket pre-orders originally, people just couldn't. Elijah Wood argued he couldn't get one. He was there at the time. He was supposed to be able to order it, and it was they were all gone.
Yeah,
but,
and that is the problem. And now the scalpers are the only ones that have them, and they're the ones that are making all the money on it. Now, Mattel can argue, well, we got our money, we don't care. But that does not help when now all of your collectors that are your business go, screw this. I am not going to try to collect these Barbies anymore, ever again. Done. I used to get, because These used to come out at stores. They might have been a store exclusive, but they were on the shelves. You could go talk to the manager, say, when these come out, when are you expecting them to arrive? We don't know for sure, but the truck comes in on Tuesday. We're expecting a delivery this Tuesday. Okay, you show up on Tuesday. They're putting it out on the shelf. You get your one, you get your two, you get your whatever, right? That's how you do it. That's the way it's always been. And most everyone's always been happy with that. Because there's always been these Barbie, special edition ones, and they were fairly limited. And they took a while to sell out, and pretty much everybody got them. And if you went to the store and you bought 5 and 6, right? And then they eventually sold out, 2, 3, 4 years later, you can put one up on eBay, make your money back. You can put it up, 10 years later when, now it's become a collector's item, sell it for even more. Okay, fine. I'm not going to fault any collector for doing stuff like that. But this is bullshit, and this is Mattel pretty much putting an end to their own collector's industry. Now, what's also going to be interesting is this is a license with Stevie Nicks. She's not going to talk about this, but I'll bet she's got some feelings about this. And if her fans are pissed, she's going to be pissed at Mattel. Now the stars are going to turn, and when Mattel shows up, hey, we'd like to do a special commemorative Barbie of you. Oh, really? Is this going to go the way the Stevie Nicks one did? Screw you. And then they'll turn around and they'll commission a company to make a custom action figure that they can sell at their public appearances. At least that's what I would do if I was a celebrity these days.
The year is 2023. They have to get up to speed on this stuff.
Absolutely.
This is no longer, they can't profess ignorance. Well, I didn't know people could just buy 50 at once and so. No, you know at this point.
You've always known. In fact, going back to Hasbro, and I don't want to sound like I'm, being positive about Hasbro. I'm just saying that when they do something decent, I'll give them credit on it. They will, everything they do, there are limits on how many you can buy. Even those HasLabs now. This wasn't the case with the Katana, which was their first HasLab, but this recent, even 2 years ago, the Proton packs, it was limited to 2 per household, which was fine for me and Netter because we were just getting one for each of us, But when it came time for the this one that's currently running, I think it's, I want to say it's limited to 2, but it might be a little bit more. And I said, well, I think we only need the 1, right? And Netter's like, well, let's get 2.
Right.
You'll have 1, I have 1.
Cool.
And then if we decide we don't need them both, we can resell the other one. I'm like, okay, yeah, I guess that's fair. But that is a reasonable thing. That is... And I guess the people that are actually crazy enough to agree with this whole crowdfunding concept, like HasLab, will say, well, they won't meet their numbers if you don't have enough people sell, so you got to let people, buy, 2s and 3s and 4s. There's an argument to be made for that. Maybe not at the beginning, but if you're getting close to the end and it's not going to make it, then I'd say if I was Hasbro, I'd be like, we've had it limited to 2. We're not going to make it, so we're taking the limits off. In the last 2 days, anyone can buy as many as they want. So you've had your chance, and that, I think it would be hard to get, pissy about that. But this is bullshit. This is bullshit. People literally there the moment it went on sale, yes, and still not able to. That's bullshit.
This has happened with Nintendo products too. Like they had the Majora's Mask Collector's Edition for the DS, which came with a figure of the Skull Kid. That thing vanished like in no time, and it's like, people actually want to buy these things, make it available to buy. This is interesting, delete things. That's why I prefer to go to the store to find physical media. Online purchase is always risky. This is another problem I have. I mean, this might be a little unrelated, but going online and you're buying something, especially if it's a DVD or a video game, I have to make sure it's the right region, because sometimes these sites, they sell you, the first thing they show you are the other region DVD or the other region video game. I very carefully went on Walmart.com and someone was selling Super Mario Strikers. And I was like, is this the U.S., is this the North American version? It says U.S. version next to it. Okay, U.S. version.
Yeah.
This should be safe. Order it, comes in the mail. That's a funny rating system. Let me look that up. New Zealand?
Yeah.
Go back. Sending it
that
back.
would piss me off.
And I bought it directly from Nintendo after that. And then, of course, now it's on a Black Friday sale. And it's like, Nintendo, do you like manufacture a bunch of your games right before Black Friday happens to send them out to the stores? Because this wasn't available a couple months ago to purchase like at a normal Walmart.
And look,
the only way I could get a legitimate copy was buying it directly from Nintendo. This is not making any sense to me.
Well, it partially does. If it's sold out and they want to keep making money, they'll put more out, and that's like the way supply and demand works. Good.
Or the ones that are half off, which doesn't make sense to me.
David Pensack is saying the Ghost. He's got to be asking about the HasLab that Hasbro did for the Ghost. I did not do anything with that. I was uninterested in the Ghost. I was uninterested in the action figures related to Rebels. I didn't care. However, I did get 2 of the Razor Crest, and I did exactly what I described. With the katana. I have one. I resold another one for twice what I paid for it. Found someone who was unable to get it at the time, and this was his only option. And because I wasn't, I wasn't tripling, quadrupling the price, which some people online were doing, he was able to afford it. He's like, yeah, twice the price. I'm willing to pay that. I think we ended up having to ship it, so I said you're going to have to pay actual shipping. And that's another thing where I'm not going to screw people. You're going to pay actual price. You're going to see how much I paid to ship it. That's what you pay. I make my profit off of, you paying for the auction, right? And he was happy. I was happy. Basically, I got this Razor Crest for free. You better believe Netter's happy with that, with all that she shells out for me to have gotten one for free, basically. But I was telling Michael about the, and I showed it during my Star Wars Holiday Special watch party a couple weeks ago. I got 2 of the Chewbacca Life Day figures, and that was a clusterfuck from Hasbro, because all of the news outlets talking about it said that it was going to be exclusive to Disney, Shop Disney. So I had on my calendar November 1st was the day it was going on sale, and I'm on Shop Disney, refreshing. And I'm like, where the hell is this thing? So I go out to the internet again, and I'm looking, and all the articles I'm running into are all these old articles from months before talking about it being on Shop Disney. Found one guy on Instagram showing a picture of, not that he had gotten it, but it was just a picture that he had. And he's like, man, so thankful I was able to get this. How about you guys? And a lot of people going, yep, got my order in. And I'm like, where is... And then I'm reading the comments, and one person said, where are you finding this? They said, it's on Hasbro Pulse. And everyone's like, I thought this was on Shop Disney. I immediately went over to Hasbro Pulse, put in my order for 2. I was like, whew. Get this. I had it the next day. They literally shipped it out immediately after they charged my credit card, and I had it the next day. That was pretty cool. Only come to find out, talking to Michael, within that day, it sold out. If I hadn't seen that Instagram article, I'd have been shit out of luck. It would have been almost exactly the same as this. Not quite the same, but almost. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of people pissed at Hasbro about that one.
So Mattel needs to get their act together.
Yeah. Well, all of these companies do, but this is the big screw-up. Hopefully the other companies learn their lesson from someone else's mistake, but something tells me they won't. There's a very slow learning curve from these stupid companies.
All right, so go ahead.
All right, thank you for letting me rant. I really did need to get that out.
Boy stuff. So go ahead and post the link to the Supergirl article. Let's put some lipstick on this pig, and take her to market. Okay. Oh, and welcome
Well-
welcome to the chat, Boosh McFat.
Unfortunately, I have to do this in portions because comic book movie
Well, I'll
is
just
almost
start
as
reading
bad as.
While you're
Yeah, go ahead. There you go.
With the WGA and SAG after strikes finally over, the WGA strike was over for a little while. This is the SAG after that was dragging, as far as I'm concerned.
True.
DC Studios DCU just took an important step forward, according to the Hollywood Reporter. Anna Nogueira will pen the screenplay for Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. The actress and playwright is making her foray into screenwriting with the DC. Okay.
Yeah. You with me on that one?
Okay.
That's going to be my first comment.
I wonder what her play was. She never written a screenplay before. Okay.
That's
Making her
exactly.
foray into screenwriting with the DC Comics adaptation. However, it's still very early days for the project, as no director or lead star is currently attached. It said that the deal has only just closed, so it's likely going to be a while before we receive any additional updates. What's interesting about this news is that the fact that Nogueira was quietly tapped to pen a Supergirl movie for Warner Brothers when the studio was developing a Sasha Cal led The Flash, the spin-off. The Scarlet Speedster solo outing was in post-production at the time, but the project was scrapped when James Gunn and Peter Safran took charge of DC Studios' move from Walter Motta's planned DCEU take. I'm not. The rest goes into what the rumor thing it's going to be about, but we touched on that before.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to bother retreading that ground, at least until we know more concrete information.
I will say those rumors are pretty fair because they're thinking it through based on the title. They look at the title of the comic. Chances are they're going to draw inspiration from there, right? But
I wasn't raised on a farm by loving parents, Clark.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm expecting her to be giving him an attitude, which is not what I want to see. They're just going to let Superman.
What's sad about that is there is a story to be told there, right? Because whereas Clark doesn't remember Jor-El and Lara, right, and he only remembers growing up with Jonathan and Martha, right? Kara remembers growing up with her parents, and they died.
Yes.
She's, to some degree, got the kind of trauma that people like Bruce Wayne and whatnot have, right? Losing their parents.
Yeah, they did a DC animated movie called Superman Unbound, which kind of goes into that a little bit. It's more about how she remembers the day Brainiac invaded, and took.
I like some stories have gone with the Brainiac version of it, and I do kind of like that
version. Yeah, I think it was based on a Superman versus Brainiac comic that was I guess more recent at the time. But it was interesting, though, because she basically says, I know for you that you grew up here, but this is all new to me. I remember Krypton. That doesn't feel that long ago when I saw this. It's like, in that time, it was like in her time, age-wise, it would have been like 3 years prior when she saw the whole Brainiac thing happen.
There was in the, not the animated series, but the animated movie series that they did, there was one with Supergirl, like Batman is involved with Supergirl being found, and
that was
Clark.
that was the Superman Batman the Apocalypse one, right?
That one was very
one too.
That one was very closely based on the it was just before they did the whole New 52 thing, but they had this Superman Batman thing going, and they were reintroducing Supergirl, and honestly, it was a great story, and you basically get that story from in short version, where she's just having a hard time adapting because, hell, to begin with, she only speaks Kryptonian. She doesn't even speak English.
Yes. Which I thought was interesting. They did. I mean, she learned pretty quickly, but still.
Well, and then going back to the 1984 movie, it's like, oh yeah. Yeah, how did she know how to speak English? We assume that when you see like Jor-El and Lara speaking English, you don't assume they're actually speaking English. You just assume it's Kryptonian, and we're hearing, as if we knew Kryptonian because we're hearing it from the point of view of the Kryptonians. But
there's a wonderful scene in the movie Forbidden Kingdom where the kid goes back to ancient China, and you see Jackie Chan's talking to him, and he's speaking Chinese. And then he says, "I don't understand you," and then he bangs him. That's because you're not listening. And then suddenly the movie transfers to English. I guess it's magic. That's how he starts hearing.
That's actually very clever. I like
But
that.
it actually starts out that way, where he's, of course, it's ancient China. I'm not going to know the language, but that's not.
Yeah, no, exactly right. But yeah, but you hit on the first point. They have a writer who's never written a screenplay before. That's a brilliant way to go into this universe they're trying to build. Look, right now I am seeing all the fanboys out there all saying, "Oh, DC's in good hands with James Gunn and blah 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 and this and that." And I'm like, based on what? And it's so thin. One person posts a picture, and it's, I guess, the picture of James Gunn's the wall of his office with all of these Superman posters and comic covers and stuff. And he's like, "See, this tells me we're in good hands." I'm like, this doesn't mean anything, right? I mean, you show up for a job interview wearing a suit. Do you wear a suit every day? And people look at you in the suit and go, "Oh, he's good people," right? No. Nobody really believes that's, the way you normally are. This is you putting on appearances to garner people's faith, but everyone knows it's bullshit. And I'm sorry.
One guy anyway, though. He has to hire all the people, and I don't think he was in charge of hiring this one to work on this project.
I bet you're absolutely right. Which also tells me he's not going to have, even if he is the Jon Favreau of DC, right? And he's brilliant, and he knows his comics, and he's
Superman movie may end up being good. I have my reservations.
We'll see, but I don't think he has as much control as he would need to in order to make all of these different projects work. And to be honest with you, I know people have said they like his Peacemaker and all that crap, but I'll be honest with you, that ain't what you want to base your whole DC universe on. I'm sorry. I have no reason to believe this is going to be all that good. And this, I don't know anything about her, but, she has no history. I have no reason to believe she's going to know what she's doing, but she's going to, if she was the one who was writing the original one that they canceled for the Snyderverse, are you serious? You got a whole new universe, but you're keeping all the same people? This is going to be shit, guys. Nothing's going to change.
It's not feeling so new to me. I'm thinking that this is just a new coat of paint. It's a new universe because we don't have Henry Cavill as Superman. That's basically what it's sounding like here.
They're not putting in the effort to if you're going to reboot. And people, Midnight's Edge has been talking about this too. This whole idea that some of the Snyder's being rebooted, but some of it isn't. Some of the characters are going to carry over. Some of it isn't. Some of it's canon. Some of it is. It's like, you need to shit or get off the pot. You can't. You're not going to have any success if you don't. You should have. DC needed to reboot this universe years ago. They didn't. Now make a friggin' hard break, but they're clearly not. This is gonna suck. I am pretty sure it's gonna suck. And you have way more, hope for the Superman movie than I do.
Troy, the same thing was mentioned with the 1998 Godzilla from when TriStar mentioned the interviews that the cast and crew watched Godzilla movies before they started filming. Was that one with Matthew Broderick and Hank Azaria, I think, was in it? Or maybe Hank Azaria wasn't it. I didn't watch that one. That was the one that the Independence Day guys made, right? I didn't want to touch that Godzilla movie because it was.
I've seen it.
American version, yeah.
It was very interesting what they did with it, but I could not see, as a Godzilla fan, this being a Godzilla movie. This was just another American kaiju film, and they slapped the name Godzilla on it.
Why didn't they just make their own giant monster movie? There were actually American giant monster movies around the same time as the
Cloverfield.
I mean.
Well, but you got to admit it was its own thing. You can't. It wasn't bastardizing, something else.
I just remember, I think it was Jay Shirafini asked, I said, "Is there an idea of a deconstructed Godzilla movie?" And he yelled out, "Yes, Cloverfield!" And he got all angry. But that was a while ago. But anyway, let's move on to Madam Web. A lot of buzz.
Oh, I'm going to have some things to say about this too. I have not cared for the Sonyverse anyway. I know people do like it and whatnot, but
who cares for the Sonyverse? I guess people like the Venom movies. I think people like the Venom movies. Let's see. There's Venom. There's Morbius. I know they're doing Kraven the Hunter. We didn't even talk about that trailer, even though it finally got revealed a couple weeks back. I'm like, it's another one of these movies where it's the villain, the main hero.
The joke going around was it's Morbin time. Well, my friend, it's Madam time. Go ahead.
Sydney Sweeney and Dakota Johnson are entering the Spider-Verse. Sydney Sweeney.
I don't know. Everyone's talking about her like she's
Sydney
someone
Sweeney
famous
related
that
to
people
DB
know.
Sweeney? Is Sydney Sweeney related to DB Sweeney?
I don't know. For all I know, she's related to Sweeney Todd. I have no idea.
Well, Dakota Johnson, of course, is Don Johnson's
Yeah.
daughter. I'm noticing a lot of children of actors, and to be fair, I don't begrudge people.
Yeah, the only thing I know about Dakota Johnson was, she was in a movie where she had a CG merkin. Yeah, that's what I want to be thinking about when I go see a Spider-Man related film.
Okay.
You're still reeling from that one,
I
aren't
think
you?
you broke the stream. Thank you. I'm now wrapping my head around that, and I don't know if I should. I don't think those words should ever be entered. And is that 50 Shades thing? I've never watched those anyway, so that's you know what? We're in the dystopia.
We are.
THX 1000, it's becoming a reality. That's an underrated George Lucas movie, his dystopia movie. I keep thinking what dystopia we're living in, and I'm thinking we're heading toward the THX 1000. I think that's where we're headed.
1138.
11th or whatever it was. It's yeah, okay.
You were close.
Johnson leads Sony-produced Spider-Man film Madam Web, playing the title character alongside Sweeney's Julia Carpenter, the Marvel Comics character who becomes Spider-Woman. Emma Roberts, Adam Scott, Isabel Merced, Celeste O'Connor, and Josiah Mamet round out the cast. A week ago, I spent my life racing against time, Johnson says in the trailer, while working as a paramedic, trying to save people who were running out of it, until one moment changed everything. After a near-death experience, she can suddenly see the future, one that hinges on the protection of a trio of high schoolers, including Sweeney, who will become spider-centric heroes, per the official synopsis. Meanwhile, in another universe, in a switch from typical genre, Madam Web tells the standalone story of one of Marvel Publishing's most enigmatic heroines. The suspense-driven thriller stars Dakota Johnson as Cassandra Webb, a paramedic in Manhattan, who may have clairvoyant abilities. Forced to confront revelations about her past, she forges a relationship with 3 young women destined for powerful futures if they can all survive the deadly present. Jessica Jones Helmer, S.J. Clarkson, directs the film. Okay, well, there's some history there. Clarkson.
What's interesting is the name Jessica Jones being involved in a Spider-Woman related type of thing. That's kind of funny.
No reason why they couldn't meet each other if things were making sense. It might make sense to have Jessica Jones show up in a Madam Web movie, but I guess that's not happening. The cast also includes Tahar Rahim and Mike Epps. Up next for Sony and Marvel is the next Venom film, now set for November 8th, 2024. I'll give Sony credits. They do crank these out, unlike Disney, which does delay. Kraven the Hunter, and I wouldn't care if Disney delayed if I meant the movie was going to be better. Kraven the Hunter with Aaron Taylor Johnson, slated for August 30th, 2024. The character Madam Web first appeared in the Amazing Spider-Man comics, with Web predicting the future of spider-centric heroes. The film swapped release dates from October 6, 2023 to February 14th, 2024. You know a lot about the Madam Web character, I'm assuming?
Not a great deal. She is a little bit obscure, but I'll tell you what she's not. She's not a hero character.
No, she isn't.
At best, she's an anti-hero, but occasionally she's a villain. She is a mutant, so she would fall into the same category as someone like Magneto or even Wanda, right? Who is sometimes works with the heroes, sometimes works with the villains, back and forth, that kind of a thing. And it seems to be, and I get it, this is all Sony has to work with, because all they have license for is Spider-Man, his supporting cast, and his villains. And so they're trying to use the villains to turn into heroes. That's why they made Venom into a hero-ish, anti-hero, whatever. That's why they made Morbius into a hero-ish, anti-hero. They're trying now to do it with Madam Web, but now they've completely changed her character. This Madam Web looks nothing like the Madam Web from the comics. The Madam Web from the comics should be a good generation or two older. She should have gray hair up in a bun. This is Aunt May all over again.
She'd be getting like a Jessica Lange to play her or something like that,
Actually, oh my gosh, Jessica Lange would probably be perfect for this. I mean, there's no reason she's got to be frumpy old library looking old.
No.
You make her, you get Jessica Lange. Now, what you do is you get Jessica Lange, you have her hair done up in a tight bun, right? Long dress, and you only ever see her sitting in a chair. Why do you only ever see her sitting in a chair? Because she's blind. And you have to, all the other characters have to come to her looking for guidance. She would play the role of like the like the gypsy that you go to get your fortune told by. Okay? And if you want to take the comics lore and take it up a notch, you make her ability similar to, even related to, Peter Parker's spider sense. The whole idea behind Peter Parker's spider sense is it's a early warning system, right? That something's about to happen, right? Well, she's got it to the max. She feels in her mind, she feels the web of time. And she's kind of like the Reverend Mothers in Dune, right? Where she could see alternate possible futures. Right? That's why I said the web of time, and yeah, that would be brilliant. That's not what they're doing.
Sounds like a character that should have been in a Spider-Man movie.
Yeah,
that would have made more sense.
Exactly right.
Not as the lead in the movie, but maybe or even a neutral character in a Spider-Man movie or something. I don't know.
And but again, and if you watch the trailer, which I did, what the hell is this movie supposed to be? Is it a superhero movie? Is it a comedy? Is it a supernatural thriller? It looks like it's trying to be all of them.
You're just a hater.
Kinda. Yeah, kinda. I'll take ownership of that. Oh, and your entire cast? All women. Put a chick in it. Make it lame.
Okay, well, maybe this will be the where it works. I don't know.
Or maybe this is going to be exactly what we see with the Marvels right now. I mean, they've got to be sweating right now. At least the Marvels had some momentum for these characters. At least people knew who Captain Marvel was. Even if they didn't like her, they knew who she was. Nobody knows who Madam Web is. Nobody knows who any of these other characters are. Nobody cares. It's not going to do better than Morbius.
Is one of these characters supposed to be a spin-off character for that Amazon series they talked about, the Silk Spider or something?
If I know.
I don't know.
I have no idea.
Are these like different female spider universe?
Well, there were in the Spider-Man lore, there were at least 2 Spider-Girl characters. One was, I want to say Jessica Drew or something like that.
Right.
Her powers, the only reason she even existed was for the same reason that She-Hulk existed and many of the other derivative characters, specifically for Marvel to shore up the ownership of the name. Didn't want someone else getting a Spider-Girl, Spider-Woman type character. So they cranked it out. It was a very poorly received character initially, but she developed. They did a cartoon of her in the 80s that was actually pretty good. Then I guess she retired in the storyline and someone else became the new Spider-Girl. And I think that's the one that, this happened in the 80s, so she was the one that introduced that whole concept of that black and white outfit.
Right.
This was prior to the Secret Wars where Spider-Man got the symbiote, right? And he said in the comics, he's like, if this thing could take on any form that it wants. Why did it take on this one instead of red and blue like my regular suit? Unless maybe I was just subconsciously,
Right.
inspired by the new Supergirl's costume, because it was. There's even a little joke where she's like, "Oh, copycat" or something like that. I don't know, something like that. But or imitation's the best form of flattery or something like that.
Spider-Woman's costume, I take it.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
And yeah. So if this is how they're introducing her, it's a weak introduction. This is honestly coming off to me a lot like that Birds of Prey thing that they did in the Snyderverse. With
No, you're right. That is the vibe I'm getting from this. This is not so much the Marvels, but maybe Birds of Prey.
Yeah.
Oh.
Where you got your Harley Quinn and you got your Kmart versions of Black Canary and all the other female characters. This is gonna suck. It's gonna suck. It really is.
What has Dakota Johnson done besides 50 Shades? She did the Suspiria remake, which I did not like.
Never saw it.
Well, I figure if you want to watch the remake, you're being punished enough because it goes on forever. I was actually on board with it too, even though I really don't like remakes. I'm like, well, maybe this will be good. It has an Italian director at least, and it looks like they're going into the lore that the original movie never went into, which they went to. No, that's just no. I was a snooze fest.
Jesse Guajardo asks, how many Spider-Man movies are we going to get? Now, are you really asking us how many Spider-Man movies are we going to get?
Venomverse, I think is what he means.
Or how many Venomverse? That's two different questions, because how many Spider-Man movies we get is tied directly into an very complicated relationship between Sony and Disney.
Here's part of the complicated problem with all of this. I know that the Tom Holland Spider-Man is sort of connected to the Venomverse because it's just considered another universe, but it's still, Tom Holland can theoretically go to that universe at some point. I don't know if they're planning to do that or if they're not. Because I think
multiverse
at the end of Morbius, Vulture from Spider-Man: Homecoming ended up getting shifted, like that word there, shifted.
Yeah.
Coming off Angel Studios, he got shifted over to the Venomverse, and so he met up with Morbius at the end of the movie. Because I think they're trying to build up a Sinister Six team. That's why they're doing a Kraven movie. I think eventually they'll have all 6 members of them.
Yeah, and who are they going to fight? They don't have a Spider-Man to fight.
They'll fight for the people and fight for justice.
Oh my God!
In their own way. Some people get killed in the meantime. I know Venom ate the head of one of those security guards, but other than that, he killed bad guys. Or I don't know. Or maybe it looked like he killed one of the prison security guards or something. I'm like, well, wait a minute, you kind of killed someone who's probably innocent. But we just ignore that because it's the Venom. I don't want to talk about the Venomverse anymore. I didn't see Venom 2 yet. I guess I should. I can't do it. I'm not a hate watcher, if that even really is a thing. But let's go to Godzilla, huh? Let's move on.
Yeah, we were talking about Godzilla earlier. Let's get into Godzilla Minus One. I do kind of like that name convention. Is this supposed to be like a prequel or something?
That's what I'm curious about because I have to say, shame on me, and I have all the movies on both DVD and Blu-ray. I've only watched a few Godzilla movies. I've not actually watched the original from beginning to end. It's supposed to be really good too. So I'm wondering if maybe this could be a prequel to that, or is it a reboot? I don't know.
And also, is it related to the Godzilla we know or Shin Godzilla? There's like
a lot of
multiple
problems with Shin Godzilla. They said it was a little ridiculous. That Godzilla is really the reincarnation of all the fallen warriors. No, shut up. Or I didn't see Shin Godzilla. I heard someone talking about that. It's like, no, he's a radioactive dinosaur.
But that does beg the question, what is this? Where does this fall?
Maybe a titan of some kind, maybe too. Maybe it's fair to call him like a titan. Okay, a new clip has been released for Godzilla Minus One, and it highlights the awesome destructive power of the giant kaiju's atomic breath. Godzilla is a force to be reckoned with, and when he unleashes his full strength and abilities, get ready for complete and utter devastation. Damn, I'm excited about this movie. Okay, this is the guy writing the article. Well, maybe don't put that last part in there. excitable. Is Jimmy Olsen writing this? Just like
And deleted scene says that to his knowledge, it's not connected to Shin Godzilla. Okay, but you understand why I would
I'm
at least raise
if
the
Godzilla
question.
is
Yeah.
even canon at this point. I don't know.
Oh, it takes place right after World War II, so it kind of does sound like it's
Well, I'm wondering if it's
a
a prequel to the original one. I don't know.
It sounds like it is, and if it is, then I am all in on their title convention minus
Well,
one.
maybe he gets bigger when they try throwing a nuke at him or something. I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know. It's like Radioactive Man. I'm becoming radioactive. Remember that? It's just, the upcoming movie is set in Japan, 1945 to 1947. After the war, Japan has been reduced to zero. Godzilla appears and plunges the country into a negative state against the most desperate.
Oh, that's interesting and clever too. It's like that double meaning of the title. I
Well,
like
you're at
that.
zero. After World War II, they were
Yeah,
at zero. Okay.
true.
And then this thing shows up. Italy was at zero too. Remember after the war?
True.
Arthur Miller wrote a play about some Italian immigrants in the country in illegal status, because you forget that was happening with
Yep.
Europe back in the day too.
Yep.
But the upcoming movie is set. Godzilla appears, plunges. Okay, Japan. How and with whom will Japan send up to it? It's interesting. I wonder if the Americans once are into this movie too. I don't know.
It'll be
We
interesting.
would have to have a presence over there, especially right after the war. But yeah, Toho President Koji Uda previously shared the following info: set in a post-war Japan. Godzilla Minus One will once again show us a Godzilla that is a terrifying and overwhelming force in the film. After the war, Japan's economic state has been reduced to zero. Godzilla appears and plunges the country into the negative state. Okay, I think I just read that, or maybe I read something similar. Movie is written directed by Takashi Yamazaki and will be released in the United States for early access fan event screening starting Wednesday, November 29th. It looked good from what I saw. I'm curious, and could be a return of classic Godzilla. I still have to get caught up on the Warner Brothers Godzilla movies. I still have to watch Kong versus Godzilla. That one,
Yeah.
Yet I did see the King of Monsters though, but the only way that title makes sense to me is if he dies in it. I don't know. Oh,
Now-
I think what they're saying is Japan is in such an awful state that when Godzilla shows up, it goes even worse. Like they're already they're at rock bottom, and what's below rock bottom? You
Yeah.
know?
You did speculate on whether or not they were going to bring the U.S. into it, and I'll be interested to see if if they do like they lead up to what they did with the original Godzilla, his introduction in Perry Mason and all.
Be interesting. Oh, it'd be funny if they got
Get
the
my
actor-
joke? Introduction in Perry Mason.
Well, you joke about that, but they should get the actor who plays Perry Mason on the new show to be.
Oh my
One is
God!
married to Kerry Russell. Yeah, I keep forgetting his name, but that might be kind of funny. Have him show up in the movie as a little, nod. There was a rumor about there being 2 Godzillas in this movie. Okay, that's interesting. So maybe this is a smaller Godzilla. I don't know. I mean, you know what? The trailer looked impressive. So, I did see Godzilla 2000 when that came out. Do you remember that movie?
I do, yeah.
And there's an audio commentary by the American editor of it, because they edited some stuff out from the Japanese version. And
Yeah.
he was actually talking about how he did the sound editing for the movie.
Oh,
And he said he had one of the characters say "Great Caesar's ghost" in it,
oh gosh.
which was an old line. Because first he said the JC line. He didn't understand why someone over there would yell that. And he didn't think that was appropriate for a family picture. Said let's have him say "Great Caesar's ghost" instead. And I think he also was very proud. He said that this was the only time you'll ever hear Yiddish mentioned in a Godzilla movie and his stuff. Because the editor was Jewish. It's just funny. I don't know. It was funny. It's a wonderful commentary track on a DVD if you want to hear one from an editor, the one for Godzilla 2000, which came on after that Broderick movie when everybody was angry about the one with the Emmerich movie made that had Matthew Broderick in it. They released Godzilla 2000. I should send you the trailer for it. It has a Rob Zombie song playing in the background.
Oh, cool.
All right. So here we go. Now we move on to the Garfield movie.
Yeah.
I was toying with the idea of doing a Good Old Days for Garfield, but you weren't all that familiar, so I figured I'd pick something.
No, yeah.
I did used to read Garfield comic books growing up. That was a big thing. Like when they would have the book. Did you ever the book fair come to school where you could buy a
Yeah.
book?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
I would get a Garfield book because my parents would give you. This is when you would get extra money.
Yeah.
Not my allowance. You can use this money to buy a book or a couple books. And I was like, I want that Garfield book, and I would get. And it was interesting because the older Garfield comics, he looked way different than his more cuter version that shows up later on. In fact, I wonder if. Let's read the article.
Yep.
Garfield movie. Honestly, the Garfield trailer looks good. I'll give my own thoughts on it in a minute. Let's go ahead and go on this one. Chris Pratt's turn as Mario worked because Illumination and Nintendo took care to make the Super Mario Brothers movie. Red Hatted Plumber sounded distinct enough, yet enough like Charles Martinet's take on the character to pass the smell test. Well, I think it was more his Brooklyn accent myself. But
Yeah.
For fans of Jim Davis's Garfield comics, there is hope Columbia might take a similar approach to the Garfield movie, its new animated feature from director Mark Dindal, starring Pratt as the eponymous orange cat. From the sounds of the Garfield movie's trailer, Pratt might be playing the lasagna-obsessed cat very straight. Along with detailing how he first met his human, the Garfield movie will tell the story of how Garfield's life is turned upside down when he learns that his father, Vic Samuel Jackson, is still alive and roaming the world as a railway cat. Life looks pretty sweet for Garfield, Dog, Odie, and John in their cozy lasagna-filled home, but when Garfield and Odie end up far from home and lost, they unexpectedly cross paths with Vic, and the grizzled old Tom's street sense is the one thing that can guide them back to John. The trailer makes it seem like the Garfield movie is going to be a straightforward, family-friendly adventure sort of deal that'll at least get a few kids excited. But for older fans, especially those of Garfield and Friends, the Garfield movie is probably going to leave everyone reminiscing about Lorenzo music when it hits theaters on May 24th, 2024. Well, this is this writer's opinion. I'm not as harsh on this trailer. I didn't think it looked too bad. What did you think?
No, I mean, it didn't strike me as being terrible. I might be interested.
It's a wait and see approach, and I don't think Pratt's voice acting was that bad. I'm sorry, the original voice actor for Garfield died, and I understand that same voice actor voiced Peter Venkman on the real Ghostbusters, and then they ended up having Bill Murray voice Garfield in those live action Garfield movies.
Yeah,
but I think this looks better than those. It's funny you mentioned Charlie Brown. I'm hoping this will be more like the Peanuts movie. Maybe this will be introducing a new generation to Garfield. And I don't know, it didn't look too bad. I kind of like how it starts out. It's all, cutesy, and the cat is sad, and he lets the cat into the Italian restaurant, right? Did you watch the trailer? I don't know if you did. And he says, "You want some pizza?" And he gives him like a couple pieces. "Oh, you like this? Okay, have some more." And then he eats the whole pie, and then he eats everything in the restaurant.
Wow.
It's like, and then he says, "That's how I adopted John," which I thought was funny. I'm sorry. And I don't know. We'll see.
I mean, and for a cat lover, that actually makes sense. It's like, yeah, cats adopt you. That's how it works, right?
But I don't know. I'll wait and see. And as far as Chris Pratt's voice acting, I haven't heard a lot of it in this movie, but I don't think it sounds off to me. I mean,
yeah, it'll be interesting.
People like to attack Chris Pratt, I've noticed.
Oh yeah, which the more they attack him, the more I think, yeah, this is probably going to be worth seeing.
We'll see. It looked fine to me. I read Garfield comic strips whenever they came in the newspapers. Yeah, and the kids in school used to call it the funny pages. And came to my grandma's, they still had newspapers. Yeah, I mean, I used to work for a newspaper years back. Garfield on the big screen just gives me flashbacks to the Bill Murray movie. I hated those as a kid. I've heard they're pretty awful. In fact, Bill Murray himself makes a joke about it when he's in the movie Zombieland. I think in the sequel Zombieland, when they're doing when he's at a convention, the people are asking, "What was your worst career mistake?" "Well, besides Garfield," and it's
right.
He actually mentions Garfield in the movie, so I don't know. I think a lot of these old American comic strips would make great, animated feature movies. Like Peanuts, like this.
I agree.
Start seeing more of them, and
well, especially since the Peanuts have a long history of feature-length films. So yeah.
And I think Garfield, and I think maybe some others, and I think we should see more of these. And I don't know. I think it'll be good. And what else are you going to watch this summer?
That's for sure.
What you might watch next year, though, is a re-release of an older movie.
Yeah. We don't need to spend a lot of time on this, but
I'll just read the headline then, okay?
Yeah, that's really all you need to do.
James Cameron's The Abyss 4K will return to theaters for just one day. Just one day.
Yeah.
Must be like a Fathom event sort of thing. But,
Probably, but you know what? I mean, it's like, I like the idea of them putting out, they put in the effort to do a 4K restoration, right?
Yes.
And release it in the theaters. They'll make some money on it, and then they're probably going to release it physically on 4K. I think that's a brilliant idea. I'm dropping, if you want to check out the trailer, go ahead and check it out. But I am encouraged by this being, just more support for physical media and the preservation of these older films through 4K restorations. This is good news to me.
So we'll see. I remember when I think Daniel sent me this article too, and I was like, okay, it's The Abyss, and I was like, I want a True Lies remaster already, and he said, oh, that's coming next. Oh, yeah, that's the one that was coming next year, True Lies. He said that True Lies is coming.
Well, good.
And in the 4K in March with Aliens and True Lies. Look at that. So you can see Aliens again on the big screen, huh?
There you go.
And True Lies, very underrated Cameron movie. People have been waiting for a remaster of that for ages. In fact, he said, I'll do it, but I'm too busy with the Avatar movies right now to do the remaster. So I guess now finally he's gotten around to them. So that's good.
Yeah, but I gotta say, for all these 4K restorations he's getting done, he should probably get someone else working on it so that he could, get an Alita sequel going, please. Just saying.
Fair though, that's really supposed to be Robert Rodriguez's territory anyway.
Well, yeah, that's true too.
And he can reuse the Vespas he used in
Yeah, at least then they'd make sense.
I suspect that those Vespas were supposed to be in the Alita sequel. And
I think so. Yeah,
it's a Boba Fett.
I still think that he was almost everything that he did there was like, hey, don't forget, I want to do Alita. Everybody, remember, I'm the guy that did Alita. Just saying.
You're not doing Alita now. Just do the best job on a Star Wars show you can to give your name clout so you can get your Alita movie made.
No, I'm getting the feeling that that fell apart so bad. Not that he's done, but Star Wars is, and he was literally doing the best he could with the crap burger they gave him to work with.
Oh my goodness, I just don't know anymore. Disney, get it together. They won't.
Not until Nelson Peltz takes over.
Now, apologies to Gen Z listeners if there are any in my audience.
You wacky tonight. Zoomers. What's wrong with you people?
But to be fair, this is an article. Maybe you can refute it if you say this is not true for you. Or if it is true for you, I'm not judging. Maybe I am. Gen Z wants less sex in movies, TV study. No sex, please, we're Gen Z. A new study conducted by the UCLA found that American viewers between the ages of 10 and 24 want to see less sex on screen. You were asking 10-year-olds about this?
Oh my gosh, I didn't even know that was the age range they were looking at. What the hell?
Okay.
Of course, that being said, I think to my own preteen days and go, no, this still doesn't work for me.
Okay, anyway, in fact, a slight majority, 51% of the 1,500 surveyed said they wanted to see more content with platonic relationships and friendships, while 47.5% said sex isn't needed for most TV shows and movies, with 44% feeling romance is overused. Well, I want to make an argument that sex and romance are not necessarily the same thing.
No, they're absolutely not the same thing.
And it's just also 44% agree with the statement saying they would rather clean the toilet than go on an online date. What? You mean go date someone through a Skype call, or if I'm dating myself? I don't. Or
are they talking about go on a date with someone they met online? I don't know.
Someone they met online. Okay, well, I heard Bumble was having a lot of problems. Perhaps even more surprising revelation was that the majority of those surveyed, 56%, prefer to watch original stories rather than franchises, adaptations, and remakes. So that's at least one thing they have in common with older viewers. Other findings: racial stereotypes in shows were intensely disliked. In fact, just having a person of color portraying a villain or portraying a character with negative traits was also disliked. I have some things to say on that. To make a character interesting, they sometimes have to have negative traits, even if they're a likable protagonist.
Yeah.
No one's perfect. Gen Z considers social media to be authentic media, with TikTok considered the most authentic platform, even though its search feature delivers far more misinformation than, say, Google, according to a report. Another thing is their favorite theme and stories was hopeful, uplifting content with people beating the odds and people with lives like my own. I would think like sports movies would be up their alley, maybe.
Yeah.
Rates of sexual activity have been in decline for years, with the drop being most pronounced in Gen Z. Psychology Today reports they're having sex less often and doing with fewer partners, and that's especially true for young men. Gen Z adults are reporting a lower frequency of sex than their people in their 30s and 40s. The study comes after Jennifer Lawrence's comedy No Hard Feelings started streaming on Netflix and sparked a debate on social media about the Oscar winner's nude scene and whether it was necessary. It's a sex comedy.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. So we'll start with the comment that I made when you first sent this to me. What the hell is wrong with Gen Z today? For crying out loud, in my day, we wanted more boobs.
That's why we went to go see those Friday the 13th movies.
But putting that aside, there's a lot wrong with this article because it has some very fundamental concepts bass backwards. You pointed out one of them. Sex and romance, not the same thing. And I can see an argument for less sex, okay? Maybe imply more, show less.
Right.
That's fine. Netter and I just watched an old pre-code black and white film called Strange Marriage. You can probably find it on YouTube. I wouldn't be surprised.
They got away more with pre-code movies, yes.
It is funny. It's definitely an early romantic comedy, but if you're an adult watching this movie, it is definitely pre-code. Some of the implied, well, not even very thinly implied storylines is very sexual. You know, there's scenes where he spends the night and, blah, 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 and you know what's happening. And if you didn't know, later on in the movie when she ends up pregnant, you know what happened, right? There's implications, though not directly said, implied that she was going to or she was a prostitute. Her friend is definitely a prostitute, but it's not said overtly. There's a lot of things, There was one line in the movie, something about, well, you know how it was with the guys, when they were going off to war, the night before they went off to war. So, it's like, okay, we get what you're saying. Yeah, But so there's really nothing wrong with that. But the romance was absolutely the best part of the story. It's a romantic story. It's two people that end up in a bizarre, silly, situation and end up falling in love, right? And she keeps going to bed with him when she really shouldn't, but she's really falling for him. And
right.
They're both trying to be self-sacrificing for the other when they really just need to, all of the tropes were there that we saw throughout the 70s and 80s with romantic comedies.
Right.
It was actually kind of brilliant in that regard. But I don't think there's been anything like that recently enough for Gen Z to even know what romance is anymore. That's the problem.
Well, that's the problem.
And then you got the post-Me Too stuff going on. That's why so many men aren't having sex anymore, because it's like, hell, I can't. I'll get screwed, and not in the good way.
Don't even try asking out a coworker these days. You'll get HR on your ass.
Well, not only that, let's say you go out, you have a date with someone you meet online or you meet at the bar or whatever. You get lucky. 2-3 days later, she's feeling bad about it, and she goes, "You know what? You assaulted me." Well, how do you figure? And that's why guys are just noping out of the dating pool.
It's a very unromantic age we're living in many aspects of that word.
But a big part of that is the films that we've been feeding to the masses. And that's why, everybody keeps talking about, well, why do they keep making movies terrible? Put a chick in it, make it lame, all this kind of stuff. It is social engineering, people, and it has clearly worked. The problems that we have with our franchise films, with all of our films right now, is the same problem we're seeing in our society today. The two are hand in hand.
It's weird, the social engineering, who's doing it and for what purposes. I keep thinking they're the genuine believers, but then I wonder if some people pulling the strings with the money, they're not genuine believers, but they have other ulterior motives for this.
Right. They want to see the world burn so that they can be the look, put
my finger on it.
Every socialist country, okay, when it falls apart, okay, it's not what people think. They don't, the people that bring about the revolution want all the wealth shared evenly. That ain't how it works. The revolution comes, everyone is equally poor, and the power brokers have all the money.
Yes.
Congratulations, you made it worse.
Yes. Samuel Proctor, this is true. I want no sex in movies I see. It's interesting. Some directors haven't liked it either. Sidney Lumet was famous for saying he didn't like humping scenes.
Yeah.
But I've seen other movies where it's artfully done, and I thought it works. It just depends.
No, I have to say, joking as I am, see, and let's face it, when I say, we wanted to see boobs in movies, we didn't want to see them in romantic movies. We wanted to see them in comedies.
The raucous comedies, yeah.
I think of that movie Zapped, right? Where
Zapped.
Scott Baio had the telekinetic powers and he rips the girl's dress off and you get a quick flash of her boobs. It's funny, You
got to do that when you get to the Z's.
Oh, right. But
Scatman Brothers was in that. Remember?
That's right. He was.
He goes on a trip, and by trip I mean drug-induced trip.
Yes. But in the romantic films, the whole, shadows on a screen, closed door, implied stuff. I think that's way, way better.
Right.
I mean, it's fine to know that they're having sex, but you don't actually have to see it. I mean. Just saying. But that's the art of storytelling too. But I take personal offense at the idea of not wanting to see romance which is not sex. Look, the movie that we just saw last night on Big Al's channel, Son-in-Law. Okay, there are some great romantic elements in there. No sex. Even when they thought that there was sex, it turned out that they didn't have sex. And at the end, they don't end up together. It's implied they might end up together, but they decide to take it slow. They were friends that kind of look like they might be falling for each other, but it's not complete by the end of the story, and that's fine. That's a very sweet story.
Let's see here. How did these people not end up on a list for asking that question to 10-year-olds? Maybe they only asked them the romance question. What do you think?
Well, which people is he implying?
The surveyors, the people from UCLA that were doing the surveys,
going after asking 10-year-olds these questions. Look, you got to remember these are the same people that believe that the children can decide that they're a different gender, when they're in grade school, and just like when you take your dog to have its hair done, they do to the kids.
The dog
think
grew
about
hair back.
Think about the what the term for animal.
Oh, that.
Yeah.
Something else.
There you go.
But yeah, I don't know though. But I will say this: I do think that romance is being poo-pooed. I think men especially are not being treated well in some of these movies. I mean, I make a point about Ant-Man. And I feel like they've treated him like an idiot, especially in some of the later versions of the Marvel movies. And if you watch that first Ant-Man movie, he argues he has an engineering degree, right? A master's in engineering, I think, right? So he's not a dummy. He shouldn't be making some of these. I don't know.
Well, people always ask when they hear I've been married for 31 years, what's your secret? Well, I'll tell you what, at this point, look at the world around you and do the opposite. Look back to the world of 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay? If you want to be successful. Every generation, it's getting worse and worse and worse. Maybe look back to see a time when it worked.
They are. Oh, they're dead. Yeah, romantic comedies are dead because they've killed romance. They've killed romance in the popular culture. So people aren't gonna...
Dude, they've killed comedy. They don't know how to do comedy anymore, let alone romantic comedies.
So yeah. So I don't know. It's where we are. So we'll see. I think I was watching some other news site. I don't know if it was a Timcast channel or something else. They think that that the marketers are just going to bypass Gen Z and keep marketing to millennials or something. You know, usually they go to the young people. That's always the thing. They always go to they're the buying people that they think they're going to skip them and just stick out with millennials.
Well, the irony here is, you know, business has always been, and looking back to the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, even the 90s, marketing to children was something you always wanted to do. But you had to be careful how you did it, because if you were being predatory in the way that you marketed to children, there'd be trouble. So what you had to do was market to families, right? And that was always the Disney brand, right?
Well, I showed you that picture of the NES a few weeks back. Remember? There was a family around the Nintendo Entertainment System. Mom was there. You know?
Exactly. You market to the family. Kids grow up loving something, usually having good family memories, so that when they have kids, they're bringing them in. And this is, I feel like, the first generation that has severed that tie, where it's, we want to get rid of the old people, we want to market to just the new audience, and now you can't do it because the handoff isn't there. You kill your momentum, you literally kill the golden goose.
I don't get it. I don't get any of this. This is a weird world we're living in right now, and we're only year 4 into this decade, right? So
never underestimate the sheer ability of human ignorance.
Yeah. Well, on that note,
we got a busy week ahead, man.
Well, yeah, I don't know what we'll talk about next Sunday because you didn't seem too keen on Davies, so maybe we'll skip him. It's almost like at this point Doctor Who's done. It's not coming back. It's too bad.
No, it's absolutely not. Yeah, our last best hope has pretty much told me he's not in it to fix Doctor Who.
He's worse. I mean, Chibnall had the stuff on the show, but he wasn't vocal about it. And Press Davies is just yelling out in front about all this, so I'm just done. It's just done. And, you know, I don't know.
Yeah. But later on tonight, guys, you know, especially after all my ranting, you might want to calm down a little bit. So I recommend you head on over to Deleted Scenes channel, 11 Central, midnight Eastern. So that's in about a half hour. The other side of midnight, his special guest will be returning guest, Sin's Corner. Again, that other side of midnight is always a great way to just kind of relax, calm down, get ready for the week. Short week this week for most of us here in the U.S.
Thank goodness, I need a couple of days off.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Yeah,
tell me about it. Tuesday, also on Deleted Scenes channel. Join Deleted Scenes, myself, you, Netter over at Sparkwood and 21, where we will be checking out episode 5 of Twin Peaks, Cooper's Dream. And yeah, we're going to do a deep dive on that dream and try not to give away too many spoilers, but we're going to get a little bit into some dream analysis there. Absolutely.
Cooper's Dream. I'm already intrigued by that title. This is the one show where dreams, they're not just dreams. You know?
Yeah, they're definitely not. They're very important to the story. I can't say any more without giving away big spoilers. But Wednesday, my understanding is, we got soundtracks with Birdman. I hear it's Rocky 2 at 4 Central, 5 Eastern on Wednesday.
What the heck? I'm not doing that. I'm doing something else with him. I'm doing the Thanksgiving Eve stream.
I thought it was. I thought this was. Look, I'm hearing.
Maybe he's doing both. Maybe he's doing a stream before mine, and then I.
Guys, I don't know. I've been doing my best trying to keep up with what's going on Soundtracks with Birdman. If I can't get the deets,
Well, he may be doing this as well.
I don't know.
No, go ahead.
So
link, but that's linked to his channel.
That's all I have. I don't have a link up for him or anything. Gotcha. Subscribe to Soundtracks with Birdman. Hit the notification bell, and if he goes live with something, yay, you get a stream. Otherwise, it's just hit or miss. I don't know. I don't know.
Subscribe, and he always has videos up and whatnot. But yeah,
but like Thursday, yeah, go ahead.
Thursday is Thanksgiving Day.
It is Thanksgiving Day, so I think a lot of us have decided. Look, we're just gonna. Those of us that are home, we're not doing anything else. We're gonna go ahead and stream. If you can make it, great. If not, that's fine. Go hang out with your family if you got plans and whatnot. But if you got nowhere else to be, you want to come hang out with us, you can start out at early in the day, 2 Central, 3 Eastern, over on Deleted Scenes. He's watching a war film from 2022 called Sisu. There is the link right there. I've never seen it before, so it might be worth checking out. Little bit later in the day, Netters Network's regularly scheduled Thursday things is going to be a Thanksgiving things. We will be watching the Charlie Brown Thanksgiving special. You don't have to have Apple iTunes TV, whatever the hell it's called these days. I will have a Cosme link up to share it with you. You can watch it along with us. That's Netters Network. I don't have a link to send you to because the stream's not up yet, but just make sure you're subscribed to Netters Network, and we will see you there on Thursday if you're available. Then after that, this is not for sure. Deleted Scenes wasn't positive, but every Thursday around 10:45 Central, 11:45 Eastern, he usually does his weekend update. At the moment, he's planning to do it, but he doesn't know. He's probably going to be playing it by ear. So once again, make sure you're just subscribed to him, and you will see when he goes live. That's Thursday. Have I missed anything else on Thursday? Because Thursday's a busy day.
No.
Okay,
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving to all of you.
And you did Netters with the Charlie Brown Thanksgiving.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. And then Friday, also a little bit busy. Big Al is going to be doing a watch party with Deleted Scenes. See, Deleted Scenes is just busy all week.
I'm doing it right now.
Big Al presents Films with Friends with Deleted Scenes. They are going to be what? Oh, I didn't put down what film they were. Oh, yeah, I did. The Sorceress from I don't remember what year.
Is that a Roger Corman produced production? Sorceress? That reminds me. It might be. I'm not sure. Okay.
Well, I'm not sure. But I don't know. Very, very attractive blonde twins in the movie. So
I've seen the trailer for it. In fact, it's another one I think where they reused the Battle Beyond the Stars soundtrack, and they used it again.
I'm not even mad about that. It's not a bad soundtrack. So okay, good.
I have a problem when they reuse soundtracks, but I'll save that for a Birdman show.
It does seem kind of lazy, but I get
worked
it.
one time, and I can't explain why, but I'll talk about that on maybe Birdman stream. I'll talk about that sometime.
It does seem like a Soundtracks of Birdman type of stream, so there you go.
Right.
Then later that night, just going to be doing my annual Planes, Trains, and Automobiles watch party, 9 Central, 10 Eastern, the regular last call slot. Again, if you can't make it, I totally understand, but especially since, let's face it, we watch Planes, Trains, and Automobiles every year, so there you go. That's Friday night. Saturday, Netters Network Cinema, Retro Cinema presents The Croods from 2013. Great little family animated feature. Again, that's Saturday at 9 Central, 10 Eastern. There's the link right to it, so you can go and hit that notification bell to remind you, but you know that it's there. And that's all I've I'm seeing on Saturday, so by all means, make sure you stop me if I'm missing anything.
Give me 2 seconds and you'll have Thursday things.
Okay. And Sunday, Western Cinema present. I don't know for sure, but every Sunday, 3 Central, 4 Eastern, on Jedi Bill's channel, Western Cinema with deleted scenes. I'm assuming that they'll be doing one this Sunday, and what that title is, I do not know, but as soon as I find out, I will update my notes. Make sure you're subscribed to Jedi Bill. It's about 1/3 of the place. If you're a deleted scenes fan, you're missing him about 1/3 of the time if you're not subscribed to Jedi Bill, you know. And then that, of course, is going to bring us up to Unscripted with deleted scenes on Sunday. What? Wait a minute. My copy paste didn't work.
What's next week's thing?
We don't know yet, but it is episode number 41. Title to be decided, but it'll be at 7 Central, 8 Eastern, and it's always a great lead into Geeky Geezers. So that is a very, very busy holiday week. You know what? It kind of makes sense. You're off work, you know, you're sitting around digesting. Maybe come hang out with us. So there you go.
Sounds like a plan. All right.
Yep.
Well, thank you all for hanging out with me. Be sure to check out the Deleted Scenes show in a little about a half hour exactly. All right, we're ending the stream. Good night, y'all. Talk to you later. Bye bye.
Take care,
I'm
everyone.
posting
Bye-bye.
Charlie Brown.
Bye bye. All right.